Alrighty. Coming up with my new video essay about how Dr. Sleep is an X-Men movie. Something like that. I don't know exactly the phrasing yet. I love the UI. It's got the stupid like symbol right where the little three-prong thing is supposed to be. So I can't click it, but whatever. I'll pin it later. What up, Buffy and the Walls? Alright. So what did this thing have to say? Alright, introduce the main premise of your video essay, the comparison between Dr. Sleep and the X-Men movies. Thesis statement. Clearly state your thesis. How Dr. Sleep or sequels signs with specifically the X-Men hook. Use an intriguing hook to engage your audience from the start. Giving compelling questions, present fact, or a bold statement. Okay. This all tracks so far. Premise of the video essay. I think mine will be something more like, I guess let's go ahead and start this guy. Make sure my audio's on. All right, let's see. Dr. Sleep is... I'm not married to this title, but we're going to give it a try. Not married to it. All right. Actually, I should probably do bigger font anyway, just so you guys can read it along. All right. What up? How's your turkey day? It was busy. I was doing a lot of editing. What about you, brother? Had to make some tea commercials, had to get some videos put on Patreon, and bunch of work. Buffy, that's a good question. I don't necessarily have plans, but the real problem with why that stopped happening, what's up, Sugarlight? The reason that stopped happening is because the nature of my channel changed, and we became like just a reaction channel, and the people that I started having access to became people like that rather than people like the former. So I'm starting a new channel, and I'm hoping that I can develop you know, connections in the like deconstruction analytical space rather than the reaction space. At least try to cut that out for myself. In essence, I'm starting like a solo channel, and I'm kind of giving this one to my team. Not giving it to them, but like they're going to be producing most of the content on the primary channel, and I'm going to try to start over. All right, so Dr. Sleep, X-Men. I like ChatGPT's idea of how to break this premise down, but I want to do it a little different than that. So they're saying introduce the main premise of your video essay, which is the comparison between Dr. Sleep and X-Men movies. That's fair. That's fair. Then the thesis statement. Clearly state your thesis. While a sequel to a psychological horror film aligns more with the conventions of a... Actually, all right, when I read it at first, I did not agree with them. Now I do. And then use an intriguing hook. This could be a compelling question, surprising fact, or bold statement. Well, no, I think I do disagree with this. I think what I would want to... How would I approach this? So, I think step one is maybe the... It's so hard to open with history because everyone feels like that's skippable. But you do need to lay down your foundations for what you're talking about. So I feel like step one, I would want to kind of describe how Kubrick got a hold of... See, that's the thing. I don't think that's step one. I think step one is describe the vibes. No, because I think I want to do it as a reveal. So it'd be like, describe how Kubrick got a hold of The Shining and do a quick rundown on what made the movie good. right? And you guys probably can't read that. Let me increase the font size. Right? And then two, I would then want to talk about I hung with Daniel Thrawn and my sister. Oh, awesome, cool. I didn't know you guys lived close like that. Thrawn's getting over COVID. No fun. Seems like a wave of that going around. Yeah, Ariana got COVID not long ago. Um, so step two would be get into what King didn't like about it, which leads into what the difference between the book and the movie is. The answer is, in essence, Kubrick wanted to make a psychological horror that wasn't so or let's see, like the book has a more sci-fi quality to it. I don't even see that. Oh, this is so hard because maybe that's not where I start. Here, let's read the rest of what ChatGPT had to say about this. Because I know the info I want to get across to an extent, but the order is like, what's the most interesting order to get it? Would it be more interesting to start with the background? Probably not. Probably it's more interesting to get right into the point and then back up the point afterward with, okay, now here's my evidences as to this point. Like a lawyer, right? You'd be like, so and so, John Smith murdered that woman. And here's how I'm going to prove it to you. I think that is more compelling. Does that make sense? College essay? No, this is a video I'm going to make for my other channel. But it is, in essence, an essay. So, discuss the good versus evil theme in Doctor Sleep and its similarities to the X-Men narrative. See, that's a thing I want to kind of point out. No, so I do need to have the history because all right, let me go more broad. Let's go more broad, less specific. So, like, phase one needs to, in essence, be establish the difference in tone between Kubrick and King's The Shining, right? I need to establish that there is a difference in tone. Kubrick sees evil as coming from within, and King sees evil as coming from without. So in King's book / movie, the enemy is the ghost who are haunting an otherwise nice enough family. But Kubrick wanted to do a dark character study of how our demons are born from within us. Example being Daniel Jack Torrance's history of violence with Danny is played up more, and it ends with Jack having always been in the Overlook. But in King's book, we have a whole scene where Jack snaps out of it momentarily to destroy the Overlook and save his family in one last desperate attempt. Book, Jack overcomes the hotel's evil influence, and movie, Jack succumbs and dies frozen to the hotel grounds forever, right? Like that's a really striking difference in the vibe between these two, right? Doesn't that make sense? Oh wait, you are lol. I don't know what that means. I agree. Throw down with an eyebrow raising statement and then aim to prove it. That should reel in the audience. So the only reason I want to kind of kick off with this is because so much of what we're going to talk about is going to be about this. So the next steps here are, yeah. So for instance, yeah, like this good versus evil theme, because what I want to, in essence, man, yeah, discuss the good versus evil themes in Doctor Sleep and its similarities to the X-Men narratives. Here, I guess I'll catch you guys up on where I started. So I was telling it, I want to make a video essay about how Doctor Sleep is secretly an X-Men movie, which, by the way, that's a way better title. Doctor Sleep is secretly an X-Men movie. And I said I would want to contrast how The Shining is a Kubrick movie and feels like a standard psychological horror. It likes to hide information and detail as to why things are happening so as to keep the suspense up. But Doctor Sleep explains way more exposition about exactly how things work, which makes it feel more like a sci-fi adventure film. For instance, there's a group of bad guys with different unique powers. The bad guys group has a name, the True Knot. The movie has a standard good versus evil theme, and the good guys beat up the bad guys using righteous violence. This is very X-Men versus the Brotherhood. Doctor Sleep also uses common tools in Marvel movies like one-liners, like, I have to wake it up, and they're not special, they're starving. Like, these are very, like, member-berry, like, oh shit, mic drop. And so if I establish the themes of the movie first, of The Shining, and how it feels the opposite of that, then I can keep pointing these things out and going, now go back and imagine Jack Torrance ever saying that. Could you imagine Jack Torrance ever saying that? Could you imagine him ever doing that? Does that make sense? What's Doctor Sleep? It's the sequel to The Shining. And so ultimately, it's going to be kind of an argument about how Doctor Sleep is a more astute sequel to the Shining novel than it is to the Shining film, and that's why it feels so weird. It's kind of the ultimate point, I guess, I'm getting to. For the most part, it's pretty tongue-in-cheek, but I still want to kind of make points here, you know? So what it was giving me as examples is like, yeah, that's just reiterating what I already said. So when I asked it this thing, so plot and themes, discuss the good versus evil theme in Doctor Sleep and its similarities to the X-Men narratives, talk about the themes of drama, healing, and care. Okay, so I guess the next step that we would lead into here would be like phase 2. Discuss how, because of these differences, Doctor Sleep feels more spiritually like a sequel to the novel than it does to the film. And that's why the sequel feels so awkward when compared to the Kubrick film. That, and then in essence, phase 3 is like fun and games, list reasons, right? Actually, we can go all Jenny Nicholson on this. Numbered list of reasons. So, reason 1 is like general theme of good versus evil. In the book, the family is good and the Overlook is evil. In the movie, the line between the two is extremely blurred. In Doctor Sleep, Well, see, same thing actually. I would start with Doctor Sleep. So I'd say something like, in Doctor Sleep, the bad guys are bad and our heroes are good. Danny is tragic, but it's a glimpse into a sordid past, and we move past it very quickly. That's not the correct past. Danny is just a righteous figure after the first 10 minutes, as well as Abra. In the book, the family's good and the Overlook is evil. In the movie, the line is blurred, or is extremely blurred. Then the bad guys have a. The bad guys are all in a club. That club has a name. The True Knot. Every bad guy in the club has a unique superpower. Yeah, sure. Has a unique superpower. Well, here's the problem, though. I'm not talking about the X-Men enough at this point yet, though, so maybe we just need to get into this. We've already kind of established the differences, so I don't have to reiterate, I guess. Even when The Shining has character give a straight-up exposition on how the power works, it's cleverly framed as being explained to a small child, so it doesn't tell us too much. Yeah, right. No, 100%. Bon Clay, right. In the original Shining, there's a lot of just really... You never... Part of why it works as a horror film is because you never feel like you have a total grasp over exactly what's happening. You feel like, for the most part, almost anything can happen, and you don't see a lot of repeat things, but they do all of that in Doctor Sleep. So instead of actually talking about the book again, or the movie, we're going to get into the X-Men. But I do need to establish the X-Men earlier, so we'll put a pin in that. Right, okay, so, right. Compare this to the X-Men versus the Brotherhood. And then, yeah, the bad guys are on a club. The club has a name, the True Knot. Like the Brotherhood. They have a unique power. And then here's like where editing-wise, I can jump back and forth between, you know, showing someone from the True Knot and showing one of the guys from the X-Men. Right. There we go. Right. Yeah, the X-Men movie's childhood origin story for sure. Here, let's see what else this thing had to say. I might even just go back to this because it actually does have a good structure. I don't hate the structure, but I'm afraid it's a little slow in the beginning. So let's see. Character abilities. Compare the character's psychic abilities in Doctor Sleep to the mutant powers in X-Men. Similar. Discuss the mentorship dynamic and character arcs. Yep, totally. I mean, you know what? Fuck it. I think this thing just has it. I might just do this. Analyze the True Knot and its parallels to villainous groups in X-Men like the Brotherhood of Mutants. Discuss how the antagonists shape the narrative. Right. Style and presentation. Contrast the cinematic techniques and visual styles of Doctor Sleep with typical superhero films. Right. Discuss the use of humor and one-liners. The film's overall tone is like brighter. You know, the good guys are winning, the bad guys do bad things, but then they get stopped. At the end, all the bad guys are dead, all the good guys have won through righteous violence. I mean, this is all a comic book movie. This is like a superhero movie, right? My big one is like the one-liners and stuff. World-building mythology. Explore how Doctor Sleep expands the lore of the Shining universe. Similar world-building in superhero franchises. Yeah, that's true. How funny. This wasn't even one of the points I brought up, but that is actually true. It does totally do that. It has a lore expanding, like multiverse kind of vibe to it. That The Shining, the movie, does its best to not feel like it's connected to the It universe or anything like that. But this movie totally does. Even a great example is at the end of the movie, what's his face says, you know, there's other people out there, people who are willing to stand, and that's a direct reference to another universe thing in that story, called The Stand.
I knew you were okay.
I'm sorry I put you in danger. There's more people like you, too. People who stand.
So that's that kind of like world expanding kind of bigger thing going on, right? Right? I think so. Always got to have diverse powers and skill sets in adventure sci-fi fantasy where they made up for each weakness and learn the power of friendship. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, like, I'm not trying to take the piss out of the movie. I do think it's a good movie, but it's just a fun kind of like thing to note is that, oh, this has way more like sci-fi adventure vibes and feels more kind of like in essence, X-Men is a easy, low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of things you can compare it to. What's up, Wu Xiaoling? But doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that kind of track? And even this is like a universe like, oh shit, he dropped the reference. Doesn't that feel like in a Marvel movie when someone goes, like they say something and we go, oh, that's gonna come up later because that's a reference. Or like in Civil War, they reference Wakanda before having a Black Panther movie, so everyone goes, oh shit, Wakanda, I know that word. This feels very similar, like him going out of his way to say there's people who stand. Why say it like that? No one would actually say it like that unless they're directly making a reference to other Stephen King movies,
Destroying the hotel. I knew you were okay.
I'm sorry I put you in danger. There's more people like you, too. People who stand.
Wu Xiaoling in a sentence is maybe hard, but the title is going to be something like how Doctor Sleep is secretly an X-Men movie. And what I want to discuss is how Kubrick made a movie that was a very straightforward psychological horror, and its techniques are almost the opposite of the techniques used in Doctor Sleep, which lend itself much more to like a sci-fi action film or adventure film. First off, there's adventure. I should write that down, actually. First off, they actually go on an adventure. Unlike The Shining, where they're stuck in one place. And then it's like, there's lots of exposition that tries to explain in detail how things work. Halloran goes on for a fucking goddamn half an hour just breaking everything down to little Danny Torrance. And so that's something where like I could see Kubrick like rolling his eyes if Halloran in the first movie, Halloran just says, always called it The Shining. My grandma and I could talk to each other. It's about it. There's not a whole lot of other detail really, but in this one, Halloran goes on about how like, well, you see, what happened was the place was starving, and when you went in there, it was like a 1,000-watt battery lit the whole place. Like he's just explaining and explaining, and to me, that really kind of separates from the psychological horror element because you're not going through wondering what's going on. The movie makes it a point to make sure you kind of really understand what's happening. Also, superhero films really depict the suffering of innocence at the hands of evildoers, like the baseball kid, right? For sure. Yeah, it's a very, very kick the dog moment, and there's not really much of a kick the dog in The Shining, aside from watching the firsthand experience that the people are having. But you even wonder a lot of the time in The Shining if the hotel is necessarily evil or if it's just doing weird stuff and it's kind of psychedelic and we don't understand. Like, it's just, you don't understand it. There's no motives ever. You never know why anything's happening. But in this one, you know clearly why things are happening. I'm gonna write that down too. Ooh. Also, gotta talk about the goddamn thermoses. Yeah. Yeah, not much mystery to uncover because they just kind of keep making sure that they're holding your hand the whole time so you understand what's happening, which again, sci-fi adventure film. Right, right. You could take the Halloween costume off and have the same kind of exactly right, right. Doctor Sleep is like the New Mutants sci-fi like, superhero horror movie that we kind of deserved but never got. If you just switch out their costumes and give them costumes, then you have yourself a superhero movie, right? There's super villains and there's a superhero. Danny has mind powers, and Abra has mind powers. The bad guys have mind powers. They have mind power offs back and forth. People drop one-liners like, I said it before. It's like, the I have to go wake it up, or they're not special. They're starving. Like, these are mic drop moments, right? Like, we can find them. We're here. Or that bit where Rose the Hat looks and sees the bloody hotel for like no reason. She sees the bloody elevator, and it's literally just a member berry. There's like no, it doesn't do anything for the plot. It doesn't matter. It's just to be like, hey, remember? You go, whoa. Even the idea of them going back to the Overlook is a member berry. Like the whole movie has very little connection to the first one. Then all of a sudden, the whole ending is like, hey, we're going back, motherfuckers.
Agree.
Sorry about your friend.
I know that was all really sad. Wow. All right, here we go. It looks so good. They're doing it so well.
God, exactly. Nope. No. Hard pass.
But I don't want you going in, not until she's here.
You aren't waiting with me?
I have to wake it up.
That's a very, very like Marvel line, You're not going to wait here with me? I have to wake it up. Like, oh shit. Oh shit. I don't think there's a single moment in The Shining the first time you watch it that makes you go, oh shit. Like it doesn't have that energy at all. If you've seen it 100 times, maybe. What I think of Birdman? It's awesome. I love it. What do you think of Birdman? I will say I hate the ending. I really, really dislike the ending. But aside from that, I really like it. Delve into how Dr. Sleep utilizes elements from The Shining to create nostalgia. Yep, akin to how superhero movies reference their past films. If you're wondering, too, the reason it has these data points is because I gave it like things I want to talk about, and so it's expanding off of what I was saying and structuring it in a more readable way. Ethical dilemmas, moral ambiguity. Discuss any ethical dilemmas or moral ambiguity present in Dr. Sleep and compare them to similar themes in X-Men. I don't know what it means by that. I'll ask it more. Highlight the difference between Dr. Sleep and The Shining, focusing on how these differences align Dr. Sleep more with superhero movies. Well, it's Dr. Sleep and the original book, is my argument. I think King has a more kind of sci-fi mind, and he likes them to be a bit more broad. Like King to an extent. Oh, maybe that's an in. That's a note to write down. That's a note to write down. That's interesting. So let's see. King already was establishing a shared universe before the MCU existed. It is of the same nature as Randall Flagg from The Stand. The Dark Tower is basically a big old fantasy sci-fi shared universe. This can be a good opener to bring in the Marvel comparison, which leads to the X-Men versus True Not comparison. Cool. Yeah, that can actually be a good place to kind of kick off the whole idea. Whatever. All right, so yeah, that makes sense. So then what I would want to bring up next would be something like, but in between the Shining book and the Doctor Sleep movie, Kubrick gets his hands on the story and brings it into the Kubrickiverse first. This makes the sequel feel weird because it's basically a sequel to the book versus the movie. And so the tones don't match. This is all information like I have to get out. It's just trying to figure out how to get it out in the most compelling, watchable way. Writing is such a fun pain in the ass. I could not agree more. It's a very, very fun pain in the ass. The other thing that makes it hard is that it's very, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. And I don't know if there's like the one best way, but there's definitely ways that are better than other ways for other reasons. And then it's just, yeah, it's a fun puzzle to solve. I love fun puzzles. I don't like unfun puzzles. It's the movie that made me love filmmaking. Oh, cool. John Skler. That's dope. That's cool. Just showed it to my friend for the first time. Such a great performance on top of the crafting of the movie. Yeah, I really, really dig it. It is awesome. A lot of King books could be seen as superhero-esque. Yeah, that's my point. That's totally my point. Exactly. Firestarter. That's, yeah. Like, to an extent. Like, to an extent, I'm describing how King's writing style is more in line with Marvel superhero fare than Kubrick. And that's why Dr. Sleep feels so disjointed when going from The Shining to itself. And then, yeah, like Firestarter is a great example of King basically just writing a superhero book. Yeah, that's a great example. That's kind of a lot of what this thesis is about, is how like King in essence himself is more in line with like, you know, shared universes, like superpowers, shared universes, good guys with powers fighting bad guys with powers. Like, he likes all that kind of stuff. And I think it's all stuff that Kubrick thinks is corny as shit. So Kubrick really, really toned all of the basically Kingisms down. And I think that's why King didn't like it so much. Yes, like King, Marvel is also very cocaine filled. That's very fueled. Yeah, cocaine brought us the MCU and the Shining. We know for a fact that cocaine definitely brought us Cujo. And then, yeah, briefly recap the main arguments, restate the thesis, closing thoughts. This is very like college style, like, call to action. And then make sure to do visual editing. Oh, thanks. I won't just talk in front of the camera. But I mean, this actually isn't bad. But I got to think about... So let me kind of re-ask it now with the structure kind of how I have it in mind. Okay, so I want this to be as hook intensive as possible. So let me give you an example of a basic structure to outline for me. So like one, I want to get into Stephen King was basically an early superhero writer. He has projects like Firestarter that are in essence superhero stories. He does the shared universe thing like Marvel, or specifically the MCU. I'm not talking about the comic books because those go back for, you know, the dinosaurs. With projects like The Dark Tower and how Randall Flagg, his name is Randall Flagg, right? Majority are morality tale. Good versus evil. Marvel is also very, yeah. And to be fair, like the majority of stories in general are morality tales. And again, I can't stress enough, I'm not saying that this is like, my thesis isn't, this is why Dr. Sleep is a bad movie. It's great. It's just interesting that it really scans as a like a superhero movie more than it does necessarily like a psychological thriller. And there's a lot of very discrete reasons why. Randall Flagg and it are kind of the same species, etc. Then, two, get into Kubrick made The Shining, which has become worldwide popular, but Kubrick has very different themes to his work. He makes the story very dark and about the evil within the human condition, where King was focused more on a good family being terrorized by an evil hotel. Jack regains his, regains control to save his family and destroy the evil hotel in King's book, but Jack completely succumbs to the hotel and dies frozen on its grounds, as well as getting established that he was, quotes, always there. And Kubrick doesn't like to almost ever explain what exactly is going on, but King has large bits of exposition that walk the viewer through the paces. So then 3 is Dr. Sleep has way more in common, Dr. Sleep the movie, with King's interpretation than King's interpretation than, or here, I'll put one more point. So in essence, Kubrick is a dark psychological horror guy, and King is making more of a superhero style sci-fi fantasy adventure. Not so much in The Shining, but in Dr. Sleep. So then Dr. Sleep, the movie, has way more in common with King's interpretation than Kubrick's. There's bad guys versus good guys, like X-Men. The bad guys are in a club with a name, the True Knot. Also, like the Brotherhood of Mutants. Halloran and Danny give long expository speeches, so the audience isn't confused. I don't know how to spell Halloran, and I don't care to learn. Isn't confused. And they actually go on adventures and new locations in Dr. Sleep, unlike in The Shining, which I understand that's the book as well, but still it is something that's happening in Dr. Sleep. That's why it isn't The Shining, the book, is an X-Men movie. It's Dr. Sleep is an X-Men movie. Um, how do these points in this new order affect the outline? Does this make sense? Kubrick is of all things an agent provocateur. Make people uncomfortable. Yes, no clean delineation. Which that's why I think it works so well as a horror, because you don't feel comfortable the whole time. You're always like, what the fuck is going on? But there's lots of bits, like, you know, for instance, like Danny, and I talked about this, I don't know if I wrote it down. Let me write it down. Like, another point I would point out is that Danny gets a discrete new superpower in his arsenal of locking Ghost inside, you know, boxes. Then we see him use his new power multiple times. Kubrick's version rarely shows you the same thing twice, so it's very hard to predict what could possibly ever happen next. All right. So, let me make this more readable for you guys too. Is that better? Can actually read what's saying. All right. So, intriguing hook. Start with a bold statement about Stephen King's early foray into what can be considered superhero narrative, setting the stage for the overarching themes of your essay. Thesis statement. Introduce your main argument. How Dr. Sleep, especially in its cinematic adaptation, aligns more closely with King's superhero-style storytelling than Kubrick's psychological horror approach. Context setting. Briefly outline that viewers can expect in the video essay, or in the essay, emphasizing the lens theory, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm probably not going to do a lot of that. That is, in my opinion, in most videos, the worst part of most videos is when they're like, in this video, you can expect to see. It's like, don't tell me what I'm going to see, just show me. Like, well, I hate that part. If you're writing a college essay, whatever, do whatever they tell you to do. But for this kind of thing, watchability is a huge part of what you're trying to think about. Stephen King as an early superhero writer, yeah. So discuss King's works like Firestarter and the Dark Tower series, highlighting the superhero elements and shared universe approach. Compare this with typical superhero narrative structures, especially focusing on how King blends horror with superhero elements. Kubrick's interpretation of The Shining. Analyze Kubrick's darker, more psychological approach to horror in The Shining. Contrast this with King's original vision, focusing on themes, character development, and narrative style. Transition from Kubrick to King in Dr. Sleep. Discuss how Dr. Sleep aligns more with King's version than Kubrick's, especially in its storytelling style. Highlight the clear good versus evil narrative, the presence of named antagonist group, the true not, the superhero-like adventures. Comparative analysis with X-Men. Draw direct comparisons between Dr. Sleep and the X-Men, focusing on the structure of the antagonist group, character abilities, the use of exposition, the use of like one-liners. Discuss the similarities in the narrative approach, especially the adventure elements and character arcs, right? Expository techniques and audience engagement. Analyze how Dr. Sleep uses exposition to guide the audience akin to many superhero movies. Discuss the impact of this approach on the viewer's understanding and engagement with the film. Conclusion, synthesis of arguments, tie together your analysis to reinforce it. Final thoughts, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But, I don't know. Is this making sense? Does this sound like a video? Does this sound like it's becoming a video? Oh, Dave, I love that. I love that. I couldn't agree more. I love Hotel has ghost versus Jack has demons. That's really good. That's really good. I'm gonna steal that, buddy. I might have to quote all of you guys in this chat at the end of the video. Hotel has ghost versus Jack has demons. God damn, I think that's so true. Dave. What's up, Optimal Delusion? Yeah, even the 97 miniseries is quite different in tone. Exactly right. That's, yeah, right. The miniseries is much closer to the book, for sure. Yeah, nothing happens for a clear reason. The lack of control on purpose makes it creepy. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. You can't boil it down to, like, Jack being punished because he was an asshole. Innocent people suffer. Yeah, totally right. Totally right. What's up? LOL. This for a channel or something on the side? Yes, it is, Cinema react. Yeah, I used to post video essays on this channel, but I have decided recently to start a second channel, and now I got one. So I moved my favorite video essays from this channel over to that one. It's called Cinebites, and I what do you call it? This is the next new one I'm gonna make, and it'll be the first like one made for the new channel altogether. Outline sounds like it's in order. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I definitely need to fill in all the detail. Oh yeah, room 37. Room 237 pointed out the physical impossibilities that add to the discomfort. Yes, for sure. Right. The fact that the whole hotel was built in such a way that rooms don't make any sense. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know about the... I missed the TV set having no cables. That's kind of fun. But I do really like the... Like, the most obvious one to point out is the office of the guy who's talking to Jack is impossible insofar as there's not room, which they do it again. Well, and that... All right, so that's something I got to add. I've got to add the... fucking what's it called, yeah, this like member berries. I need a section dedicated to member berries. The only reason that this guy has an office that looks exactly like the office from The Shining is for you to go, oh my god, it's the office from The Shining. And that's something I think Jack would think was fucking... Not Jack, that's something I think that Kubrick would think was corny.
This is that office.
Yeah, this, yeah, literally Maple, right? It's to make Maple say this.
This again. No.
It looks very similar.
It doesn't even look very similar. It looks exactly the same.
This is that office.
But in the original movie, this office has this window that opens up to the tree, and like it's really bright outside. But if you pay attention to the layout as they approach that office, there should definitely be a hallway behind him. So it's like, how does that open to the outside? That doesn't make any sense, you know? And that's cool. That is really cool. But when you just reference it to reference it, that's corny. Okay. All right. I need to add 2 more segments. One to discuss the member berries. I'm all like, oh, I spelled member berries wrong. I'm glad to hear optimal delusion. Well, and this is the kind of stuff I want to make more of. I want to try to get away from, if anyone's familiar with Every Frame of Painting or Nerdwriter, I love those guys, but I don't want to directly compete with them. First off, Every Frame of Painting has been retired for years. Nerdwriter's still in the game, though. And they kind of have more of like an edutainment angle where they're like teaching you something. I kind of just want to try to make things that I think are entertaining. I'm not trying to like teach people how to make films. Because also I have absolutely no credentials. So I want this to be more of like a, here's something kind of cute and interesting I figured out, or I noticed, like, hey, share this fun thing with me. And I think that it opens you up for less people being like, oh, well, I disagree, so fuck you. Oh, I guarantee ChatGPT knows what member berries are. Its stuff has been updated to like 2023 now. Finally, it took for a long time. I'm convinced it knows what member berries are. I actually already used it earlier, and it was talking about. We'll see. I'll tell you what. I'll just ask it. If I can show you. Hey, do you know what member berries are? See. With the berries themselves reminiscing about popular culture from past decades, the concept of member berries is often used metaphorically to describe how modern media and entertainment frequently rely on nostalgia to appeal to audiences, bringing back familiar faces. In the context of your video essay on Dr. Sleep and its parallels to superhero movies like X-Men, you can use the term member berries to discuss how the film taps into nostalgia from The Shining. This could include references to iconic visuals, themes, or even direct callbacks to characters and events in the original movie. The idea to explore how Dr. Sleep, much like many, I mean, like, it not only knows what the word means, but it knows what I mean using it in this context. Like, it is very powerful these days. Also, what is the fucking deal with Homie getting fired? Is he fired or not? Like, that was such an insane choice to fire him. That was so weird. Let's move me over. I'm in the way. Not that. Wrong thing. There we go. Even if you don't notice explicitly, you subconsciously can't get your bearings. I agree. And the way the shots are done with Danny going down the hallway, the camera at low angle. No, dude, I'm telling you, Bon Clay, I couldn't agree more. I think The Shining is incredible. I also think Doctor Sleep is very good. But yeah, there's definitely some more accessibility. Like Doctor Sleep is much, much, much more accessible. It's much more kind of like narrative stylings and stuff that we're very used to. Oh, he already got rehired? Okay, last I heard they were in talks. What the fuck was that all about? That just seems so stupid. It's like, hey, do you want to tank your stock price like overnight for no reason? Like, that's a good way to do it. It's so crazy. Sam Altman is the face of OpenAI. It would be like firing Elon Musk from Tesla. Like, no matter how the average person feels about Elon Musk, like, we still see him as the guy. So if he were to get fired by the board, which I assume they're set up in a way where that couldn't happen, but if that was set up that way, then yeah, it would instantly just screw everyone's faith in Tesla. It's just insane. Whatever. Yeah, it's so crazy. In my mind, Doctor Sleep plays like a chess game. We get to see all the players' moves. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. You don't get to see all that in the other movie. Okay. I want to add 2 segments to the outline. Member berries, including but not limited to Halloran coming back, going back to the Overlook, Rose looking at the bloody elevator. What do you guys got for member berries? There's a bunch of them. Didn't it already list one of them? Or we listed one of them? Oh, the creepy lady from room 237. Room 237 coming. Well, like, I'll say room 237 and all of the ghost coming back at all. Basically, the whole ending of the movie. And then I'll even say, like, fill in with more if you got them. And then I had another... one-liners. Lines in the movie that feel like lines you would hear in a Jon Favreau... How do you spell Favreau? Is that it? Holy shit. That's incredible. That's like throwing a crumpled up piece of paper behind your back and it actually lands in the trash. I just guessed that on the first try. That you would hear in a Jon Favreau film. Like, I need to wake it up. Making a reference to The Stand at the end. Oh, there was another one. Oh, yeah. They're not special. They're starving. Yeah, there we go. Fill in with more if you got them. Oh, Red Rum. There you go. Shots of the maze. Yeah. Pretty much, I'll have to just include everything from the first movie, but what I'll try to do is focus on the parts that feel the most shoehorned in. Not everything feels like it's pointless as a member berry, but some of them do. And Rose looking at the elevator and it filling with blood, pointless. It's absolutely just for you to go, oh, hey, it's the thing. Or the guy's office. Oh, hey, it's the office. Like, it feels like it's just that. Oh yeah, show the character's reaction first. Yeah, that's very true. I totally agree. Rather than one jump scare, you get too many ones. Yep. Yeah, the old hag was a direct reuse, and I completely agree. I do think the old hag specifically does feel like a member berry. Yeah, the car ride. I mean, that's the thing. It's basically everything from like this point on. From this point on, starting the ride to the Overlook, all of it is member berries, honestly. Like, and it's not only member berries, but it's also a way for him to. Okay. And then I'll add as well, one of the last points I'll want to make before the conclusion is that the scenes that were cut from the original movie were basically re-added into Dr. Sleep, and as a obvious, thread from this film to the original book. For example, in the book, Jack snaps out of it to save his family. In the movie, it was changed. But in Dr. Sleep, Danny snaps out of it. Oh, wait, not just to save his family and burn down the hotel. In the movie, it was changed. But in Dr. Sleep, Danny snaps out of it just long enough to save Abra, which that's another thing. Could you imagine Kubrick having one of the kids' names be Abra? God, I mean, I think Kubrick would slap me in the face if I was like, oh, dude, and then her name is Abra. Get it? Like abracadabra? It's like magic. Yeah, I think Kubrick would throw boiling water in my face. Boiling water would just appear from the void in his hand, and he would throw it in my face. Just long enough to save Abra and burn down the hotel. But Red Rum, very much so. Red Rum, well, and also, I mean, again, the fucking just Jack looking through the hole, right? Which I think we have as the as the thumbnail. Like, this is already just a member berry. Now I like it. Again, I'm not, it's hard because it's hard to make these kind of videos without sounding like you're just saying like, this is why this movie's terrible. It's not terrible. It just is a different thing. And so I'm kind of just trying more so to point out what it really is, which, my thesis is that, and I don't even necessarily 100% believe this. I'm just kind of pointing out like, hey, this is kind of interesting. It's kind of more of an X-Men movie than it is necessarily a, traditional psychological horror like the movie it's, was its predecessor. Oh, first name doesn't have an H. That's funny. I fucked up the easy name to spell. I love it. Name that kid after a Pokemon. Yeah, exactly right. They're like, hey, dude, her name is fucking... what are the other ones called? It's Abra and then Kadabra. Is that right? Is there a Kadabra in the middle? And then Alakazam is the third form. Yeah, Kubrick would throw J.K. Rowling on a pyre. Oh, right, exactly. Like, I think he hates that really, really campy... Camp! That's a word we have to write down. Camp. Camp. This word is important. King and... what's his name? Flanagan? Is that how you spell Flanagan? I am nailing it on weird last names. King and Flanagan... well, never mind. I don't think there's a spell check on this now that I think about it. I probably spelled that wrong. King and Flanagan are not afraid of camp. Kubrick is allergic. Yeah. camp. That's a very, very important word for all of this, I think. Yeah.
After having all these things follow him his entire life, no.
Yeah, this whole shot right here
I am very cold.
is straight up just like,
Yeah, I'm
remember?
like-
Remember? I love to remember Chewbacca.
That's crazy.
I remember Chewbacca. I mean, all of
Oh
it.
my
The whole
gosh.
last third of the movie is just one big long member berry.
It's like I'm a dislike.
He literally walks through the hotel, and every time they look at something, a flashback happens. It's like, you know, it's yeah. This is very Jon Favreau, you know. And the reason I keep talking about Favreau and like Marvel is because I'm thinking about YMS when he did The Lion King. We're not gonna watch a 6-hour video. I just want to find this bit.
The Lion King.
Because he talks a lot about that, how Favreau brings this what's the word I'm looking for? He brings his Marvel instincts to a project that isn't a Marvel project and makes it feel like a Marvel project, if that makes any sense. And he has a really great bit where he discusses the introduction of Mufasa. I really wish he used chapters. I think it's this. Is it that?
The character.
They haven't approached me yet. I don't know who else will play Scar. Maybe some whippersnapper.
Now, I don't-
Yeah, right here.
Louder or softer?
So now we are introduced to Mufasa, and the way he's introduced is just so obnoxious and over the top.
Music.
to mingle with the commoners. Sarabi and I didn't see you at the presentation of Simba.
The way it's presented feels like Jon Favreau was expecting the audience to stand up and cheer at this point. Come to think of it, this ties in pretty heavily with how Jon Favreau treated Rafiki and his stick.
But he had to have a stick for the fight, so we figured he kept it hidden. It's like his lightsaber.
It's pretty clear that he's just
I mean, that's his words. That's not even us just inferring what he's doing. He said it's like his lightsaber. So that's his brain. His Jon Favreau, and it's funny because he wasn't always like this, but at some point, Jon Favreau became a guy who his whole focus, like, or his brain just works on a level of what would people think is just fucking dope. Like, I don't like fuck what the story is. I just need to try to sell these moments over and over again, right? It's like, yeah, oh shit, Rafiki got his stick, you know, oh shit, Mufasa showed up. Like in the original movie, you don't know who Mufasa is. So when he shows up, it's like, oh, that's Mufasa. But in this one, he's playing on that you already know who he is. So it's like, oh, the nostalgia. So he when he walks in the room, it's like, oh, and the music goes crazy and it's like the sunlight. Yeah, it's extremely like his brain is perfectly tuned, which explains why Disney hires him all the time. He is a man whose brain is tuned for making Star Wars style content and MCU style content. And I use the word content as derisively as I possibly can. And so that's like what Dr. Sleep feels like to me. Dr. Sleep feels like the Favreau version of The Shining, if that makes any sense. It's doing a lot of those same tricks. The same reason that he's doing that is the same reason that you know, we have the member berry, this thumbnail. This thumbnail is born out of the same energy of like, oh shit, he's putting his head where his dad, dude, remember in the 70s when his dad's head was there? Or actually, I think it's 1980. Like his head's there now. Oh shit. Like that's what it feels like. You know, it's that same kind of energy is where I'm coming.
just treating this like another Marvel movie. Damn, this character's back that was advertised as being in the movie anyway. Aren't you surprised?
Wow. Dude, Pride rock!
Pride
These
rock.
choices are entirely reliant on people having seen the original film. It's so cheesy and unnecessary. Also, we just saw Mufasa in the opening scene. This isn't even really his introduction.
Hey, Dave, that's another great point. I like that. Him using the hotel against the other bad guy. Mm-hmm. That is very similar. I do agree with that. I don't know if I have room on how I'd fit that in, but that's a great point, though. It's definitely something I'll keep a pin in.
So why even do this? Now, James Earl Jones is, I guess, the only voice actor that reprised his role for the film.
How about James Earl Jones coming back to do Mufasa again?
Okay, this is a new point, but this whole point, I totally agree with, and this is like a big part of what I'm thinking of when I'm talking about the member berries, you know, section, is that it feels like that. It's got that kind of Rose the Hat only stops and looks at the elevator for it to fill with blood for us. I've talked about this before too. I called it ribbed for our pleasure. It's that thing where like no one in the movie would get anything from that, but the character, but we do. So the character does something. You know what? I was talking about that a lot when I was talking about what's it called? Mission Impossible 4. There was a scene or two. Yeah, see, I cut it out because it's pointless. But there was a handful of scenes where a character, actually Rebecca Ferguson again, she would do stuff where it was like that was just for us, you know, like no one's looking at her in the scene, and she doesn't need to try to hold a gun in the sexiest way possible to get the job done. So it's like the movie, the character feels like in that universe she's aware that she's being watched by us and needs to make sure she does everything the sexiest way possible, even if no one's looking, you know. So it's like ribbed for our pleasure. Yeah, I think I skipped over it because it's just stupid. Oh, no. Oh, no, I did. Yeah, I did. I skipped right past it. Yeah, we don't need that. Yeah, fan service. I guess I'm using a lot of words to explain something you guys already understand, which is fan service, right? I really have trouble with fan service. Another superhero thing is, Star Wars syndrome. Okay, cool. All right, dope. I have to pee, but if you guys can think of any other little points that I should have in here, then please feel free to sound off in the comments. I might steal them. I'll be right back. All right. Okay, so my 2 new segments. Here we go. Member berries. Yeah, introduction of member berries. Briefly explain the concept of member berries using South Park's definition as a starting point. Halloran's return. Discuss the significance of his return. Nostalgic impact. Overlook. Iconic imagery. Room 237, the ghost. Climactic nostalgia. Reflect on the ending of the movie. Analyze how heavily relies on nostalgia, referencing The Shining. One-liners. Yeah, explain the significance of one-liners in superhero movies and how they add to character development, mood of the film. Notable examples. Discuss the specific lines you mentioned, like, I need to wake it up, they're not special or starving, blah, blah, blah. Reference to The Stand. Yeah, additional one-liners. Okay, that's funny. When I told it to add more, they just said, and then any others you can think of. Integration to the main outline. These segments can be integrated in the main body, preferably in the expository techniques and audience engagement sections. Yeah. And then... Right, and then I said that for the ending. So yeah, I said segment on reintegrating original book elements. So, introduction to cut elements. Begin by briefly explaining how Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining differed from King's novel, particularly in the portrayal of the character Jack Torrance in The Hotel's Fate. Compare Danny's arc in Dr. Sleep with Jack's in the original movie. Highlight how Danny, much like Jack in the book, momentarily breaks free from the malevolent influences to save Abra. Discuss the significance of the parallel in terms of narrative and closure. Character redemption linking back to his original vision. Destruction. Explore thematic implications of these reintegrated elements, such as confronting and overcoming past demons, which is a prevalent theme in the superhero narratives. Okay, so rebuild the entire outline for me with the data points in an order that you think is the most easy to understand and follow along. You could use your green screen setup to put you in Bruce Greenwood's office. Oh, that's funny. That's not bad. That's not bad. I like that. That's pretty funny. It's a good idea. Analyze the X-Men. Okay, see, I kind of like this, right? Yeah, establish the X-Men comparison, and I can do a lot of that with the stuff about the True Knot naming convention, how they all have their own superpowers and blah, 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 good versus evil. And then I can get more into it with, like, and then member berries feel like a very Marvel-y thing, and then one-liners feel like a very Marvel-y thing. And then I'll probably move this down to like the conclusion segment of kind of being like my coup de grace is that basically the ending of the movie is in essence like just it's not a fuck you to Kubrick, but it's like a return to the original novel. It's like, here's the ending the original novel wanted, and so here's kind of me doing that ending in Doctor Sleep instead of The Shining for the novel, you know. It's like somewhere King was, you know, a single tear went down his face when he saw this in theaters, I'm assuming, you know. All right. I think I actually like this statement about his early ventures in the superhero-like narratives. Thesis statement include Dr. Sleep alignment and a superhero-style storytelling. Briefly outline, we'll cover. All right, we're not doing the overview, though. What do you guys think about this overview segment? Isn't this always, like, the worst part of every video? Hey, guys, today I want to talk to you about makeup. And so in this video, you're going to see me try these different types of makeup. It's like, just show me the makeup. I saw the title. I knew, like, the overview. Basically, this right here, in my opinion, for a YouTube video, is your title and thumbnail. Like, that's the point of the title and thumbnail, is letting you know what this thing's going to be about. So then when you click on it and then I tell you, in this video, you're going to see, I already know what I'm going to see. I'm just waiting to see it. You told me I was going to see it in your title, but now I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing you tell me that I'm going to see it. I know it's short, but still, it just feels so pointless. Ooh, retconning. That's true. Oh, I like that. I'll write it down. Again, I don't know exactly where it fits yet, but I do want to fit retconning. Is a very comic book thing, and the ending of Dr. Sleep is basically a big ol' retcon of the Shining film's ending to be, you know, fixed towards the original. Feels like a personal love letter to King himself. Yeah, that's true. I straight up didn't even think of that. Woosha. How did you say? If I wasn't trying to say your whole name, I was just trying to say your first name. You said it was Woosha would be correct. Is that right? Not just Woo. One of King's first novels with Carrie. That's another one. Thank you. I knew there was another aside from just Firestarter. Where did I write Firestarter? Firestarter and Carrie are great examples of King basically just writing superhero books. Woosha is my first name. Okay, dope. The title of your thesis statement in this video essay is just a thesis statement. It's weird to repeat it. Well, that's my argument, is that I think your title should be your thesis because, you know, what else would it be? Yeah, why Dr. Sleep is secretly an X-Men movie. Now, I do need to make sure, I will say that I don't think ChatGPT understands how heavily I need to make this X-Men comparison. So we do need to try to run it through the X-Men washing machine a little bit harder than we have up to this point. But to an extent, that's something I can kind of do. What's going on here? What are all these? That's my stream. Oh, I got it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So let's grab this version of the outline and move it over here. And and then start digging into these sections specifically. So start with an intriguing statement about Stephen King's early adventures into superhero-like narratives. Okay, so let's break down the hook. We need see, I feel like most of the data I would want to put here, I probably, you know what? I might skip the introduction altogether. Because again, my title is why Dr. Sleep is secretly a X-Men movie. So if I say this data, but in a shorter fashion here, and then I say what the point of the video is here, but that's already the title of the video, then I don't know if I even need any of this. And I already don't want this. So I feel like we just start here. Does that track? Like, I understand where it's coming from because I kind of have done it before when I did like the Harry Potter versus Star Wars. Gosh, I'm so tired. Yeah.
George would say
I kind of followed that structure when I did this video. I did this. Harry Potter is better than Star Wars.
Why you pulling me? I'm right.
A hot take indeed, but as I take you along my scientific journey, I hope to prove to you that the Harry Potter franchise does indeed poop all over Star Wars.
Now this is pod racing.
Join me. It's fine, but it does feel pointless. Like, the video doesn't technically start for 20 seconds because I'm just telling you what you already kind of came here for. So, you know, I don't know. I'll get back to that, but I'm going to put a pin in the intro. I think I'm going to, for now, my theory is I'm going to start the video with getting right to it. Because, again, the title and the thumbnail are going to express what this video is about right away. So let's not talk about the hook. Let's start with the body. So, Stephen King is an early superhero writer. Discuss King's works, Firestarter, blah, 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 blah. All right. So, let's expound upon segment 1 of the main body. How would you fill in that section? Because that's not a section that even came from me. Well, it did, but not until we already started working, so I want to hear what it thinks about that. So start by introducing Stephen King as a prolific writer known for horror, but also highlight his forays into themes common in superhero movies. Firestarter, discussion of the novel Firestarter as an example. Highlight the story of a young girl with pyrokinetic abilities being pursued by a government agency, drawing parallels to superhero origins and conflicts. The Dead Zone. Mention the Dead Zone where the protagonist gains psychic abilities. Oh, the Dead Zone! That's another great example. Right. Yeah. Yep, gains psychic powers after an accident, similar to many superhero stories. Yeah, here we go, dude. I'm telling you. Why are writers mad at fucking AI? Like, this makes the research part so much easier. It's like, instead of having to go and just read endless wiki articles or like watch endless movies, you can just ask God, hey, what do you think? And God already has done all the research for you. It just makes so much more sense. God damn, whatever. Me and Danny wearing, oh yeah, it's very similar, Dave. That's, yeah. I'm thinking the same thing. I'm actually going to ask it to make me, if I can get it to, I'm going to try to get it to make me all these people as like superhero, supervillain versions of themselves. My nose is so itchy today. I felt like your intro for Everything Everywhere essay was pretty on the nose. What did I say in that one? Can't even find it. I may have hidden it. I have to get rid of all the video essays on this channel or else I'm going to get in trouble for double posting. But I didn't want to do it yet until I knew everything worked. Let's see. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Cenobites. And if any of you guys are interested in that kind of content, feel free to hop on over to my new channel, Cenobites. It's going to be hard as fuck to find, but I do have a link, which I'm probably going to have to use myself for now because the channel is too small. My channel, community post. There we go. Yeah, if you go to my community post, there's a link right here to the new channel. The hidden variants of everything everywhere all at once. All right, what did I say? Welcome to Diegesis. My name's Chad, and today I want to talk to you about everything, everywhere, all at once. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, right, yeah. So if you take a look at the title of this video, you probably will realize that I'm stretching the... I could have started here, but, you know, I'll probably do something like this. I just don't want it to be long. I don't want a whole bunch of me talking. I don't want to talk for like 35 seconds about like what you already know. You know, hey, if you're here, it's probably because you clicked on my video and it said blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, it's all just so obvious. Whoa. Hello. Thank you. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I wanted to say congrats on the new channel, EEAO Essay with outstanding. Hey, thanks, Padrake. Connolly, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely want to get. I want to spend a lot more time on this kind of content versus the other stuff, and I think that my editors are all kicking ass, so I'm ready to kind of mostly hand the reins to them on the reaction channel. And don't take this as any kind of like, I don't plan on slowing down the reaction channel. It's not like I'm ending it or anything like that. That's not happening. I don't think it's smart anymore to be trying to force this content into the reaction channel. I need to accept that it's just a reaction channel. Like, that's what everyone's there for. Let those fans be there and watch that and then take this somewhere else. And it's scary, but it's exciting to kind of, you know, because it feels like starting over, and that's a very nerve-wracking kind of feeling. But yeah, totally. The Dead Zone is a really good example, though. That's a very good example, and so is Carrie. All right, shared universe. Explain how King pioneered the idea of shared universe. Well, okay, I don't know if we can say he pioneered it. That's probably incorrect. How many people would throw tomatoes at me if I said that he pioneered the shared universe idea? Probably a lot, right? Classic blunder. What do you mean, Connolly? Reference the Dark Tower series, which connects various King novels and compares. Yeah. Reoccurring characters and entities. Discuss recurring characters and entities in his thing, like Randall Flagg and the creature from It, drawing a parallel to recurring villains and themes. Highlight how these recurring elements contribute to a larger narrative, much like in superhero universes. Yep. Themes of good versus evil. Elaborate on the clear-cut theme of good versus evil in his work. Central theme, superhero narratives. Discuss how the theme is portrayed. Focusing on the battle against formidable, often supernatural adversaries. Yeah, fair enough. And then his impact on genre blending. Conclude the segment by discussing how King's blending of horror with elements of typical superhero stories has influenced the genre, setting the stage for works like Dr. Sleep that further blur the lines. Oh, that's a clever little hook to get us into now what we're talking about. That's interesting. It's probably not exactly how I want to do it, because I need to fit the Kubrick stuff in there first, but yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so that's that part. And then... okay, can we add Carrie into that list? Start with Carrie, a story about a young girl with telekinetic powers. Discuss how mirrors superhero origins, a misunderstood individual discovering extraordinary abilities. I mean, bro, right? Superhero story. Firestarter, same thing. Dead Zone, same thing. So, yep. Okay, cool. And then let me ask, how should I showcase the shared universe? What examples should I use? Or what examples would you use? Dark Tower series is central to King's shared universe, with its narrative connecting to several other King novels. Highlight characters like Randall Flagg, who appears in the Stand the Dark Tower series, showcasing the cross-novel continuity. Mention the presence of the Crimson King, a villain who appears in Insomnia and the Dark Tower. Discuss how characters from different books appear in multiple stories. For example, Father Callahan from Salem's Lot. I'm probably not going to use this, to be honest with you. The way I'll probably use this one, the one that comes to mind. Well, let's see what else it says, because it has the Easter egg part. Discuss how characters from different books appear in multiple stories. For example, Father Callahan, Salem's Lot, is also in Dark Tower. I mean, that's the thing. Everything kind of connects to the Dark Tower. It's like the center. Highlight shared locations like the fictional town of Castle Rock, which has a setting in many King stories, including the Dead Zone, Cujo, and Needful Things. Point out the subtle references to other works. For instance, the town of Derry set in It. It's mentioned in several other books. Discuss how Easter eggs. Can we talk about how in the Dark Tower movie, a boy asks what is outside of the bubble that they're in, and the gunslinger points to a spider. We know that it has the form of a spider, and this seems like a direct reference. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? Early adopter, maybe not a pioneer. Yeah. That's true. Comic writers as a whole. That's fair. That's totally fair. Comics themselves, yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't say he's a pioneer. But he might be a visual pioneer for like films. Obviously he didn't make the films, but the films, you know, are basing off his work. Alright, cool. Yes, I'm familiar with the scene you're referring to from the Dark Tower movie. In the scene, a character references the existence of other worlds outside their own, and the gunslinger, played by Idris Elba, points to a spider, which could be interpreted as a nod to Stephen King's It, where the creature takes the form of a spider in its true form. This kind of reference is a prime example of how King's work often contain interconnected elements, creating a shared universe. In your video essay, you could use the scene from the Dark Tower movie to illustrate how King's shared universe concept extends to film adaptations of his work. This particular moment serves as an Easter egg for King fans, linking the worlds of the Dark Tower and It. Such references not only enrich the narrative, but also create a sense of a larger interconnected cosmos. And again, this is all stuff I think Kubrick would think was corny. He'd be like, oh, get out of here, get fucked. I wish he was still alive. I'd love to ask him this stuff. Obviously, he wouldn't talk to me. Maybe if this channel does well, he would. Great, these ideas. All right, introducing the concept of shared universes, a narrative structure where characters, locations, and events are interlinked across blah, blah, blah. Dark Tower as the nexus, character locations, subtle references, film adaptation references. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Yep. So that's kind of what I want to try to do with that segment. And then all right, so we have our intro segment. We have our number 2 segment. Yep. All right, so the concept of shared universe. Oh, wait, no. There we go. Back up. Yeah, so that's 1 and 2. So then 3 is a concept. No, it's also kind of 3. Recurring characters, entities. Discuss the recurring characters and entities in King's universe, like Randall Flagg and It. This is all the same shit. Oh, this is all segment 1, that's why. Segment 2. Here we go. Contrasting Kubrick. Here we go. Analyze the thematic. Okay, cool. All right. I'll just ask it. So, how would you break down section 2? Remember the points I've made about their differences. 11/22/63, the Losers Club kid from It make a cameo. I don't know 11/22/63, but I believe it, yeah. And that's the thing, he loves to do those like cross cameo things. That's definitely one of the things he's known for. Okay, here we go. Discuss Kubrick's focus on psychological horror ambiguity. Ambiguity is a big one. It's like these don't make sense, but if you had a scale like love and fear, if you had a scale that was camp and ambiguity, it's like King moves way closer to camp and Kubrick is way closer to ambiguity. There's a lot of scariness in, you know, the fear of the unknown, right? And that's something that King kind of loves to do lore dumps. Version leaves highlight how Kubrick's version leaves much to the viewer's interpretation, creating a sense of mystery and unease. And then delve into the themes he emphasized, such as descent into madness, isolation, ominous, malevolent influences of the Overlook Hotel, and then his ending, where Jack succumbs to the hotel's influence, differing significantly from King's novel. Shift to Stephen King's original narrative, highlighting its focus on a family terrorized by an evil force, but battling against it. Discuss the themes of good versus evil, supernatural elements, and redemption arc in King's story, where Jack regains control to save his family. Redemption of heroism. Emphasize more clear-cut heroic elements in King's story akin to superhero narratives where the protag fights against an external evil, and compare this. It's so funny because this thing is so good at understanding where you're coming from that like it sounds like it agrees with you. I guarantee that you guys could go on here and feed it the exact opposite ideas and it would be very compelling telling you the other thing. It's so interesting how this shit works. Discuss how this novel provides more exposition, guiding the reader through the supernatural aspects. I don't know if I'll do that, but I'll definitely talk about that with Dr. Sleep. And then, yes, all of this leads to us getting into then Dr. Sleep. So this needs to be no more than the first third of the video, but honestly, I would like it to be less if I could. But I think we need to have this foundation so that everything I'm saying about Dr. Sleep makes a lot more sense because you understand. It all starts with this. It all starts with like Kubrick and King disagreed on these two things. So here's how Dr. Sleep fits in with King, and here's how King and Dr. Sleep feel more like an X-Men movie together than Kubrick did. Kubrick is like the odd man out in this situation. I only just recently started watching this channel. Are you related to Maple and Ariana or just friends? We are just friends, baby cowgirl. It's a hell of a username. It's one hell of a username. I love it. Okay. I feel pretty good about that. Like, that's not bad. Parallel to superhero universes. That's not it. Oh, you know what I need to do? Let's just use my notes that I that's why I copied it over, so I won't have to scroll, and then I'm scrolling anyway. Okay, so King's Vision. Right. Okay, so yeah. All right. Cool. What did I say? I said that was section 2. Let's go to section 3. Oh. What? Oh, those aren't real. Okay, fine. All right, yep, do. Antagonist, wait, plot and themes. Main body. Yep. Wait, what the fuck is this? Is this an old one? Oh, that's the old one. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Yep, this transition. Yep, okay, great. And I'll just save both of these for when I get to these at the end. All right. So, introduction to Dr. Sleep. Begin with a brief introduction of Dr. Sleep, acknowledging it as a sequel to The Shining. Goddamn. And highlighting its unique position between King's novel and Kubrick's film adaptation. Discuss how Dr. Sleep, both in its novel form and film adaptation, tend to align more with the narrative style and themes of King's original vision. Man, are people in college doing this all the time? Is this like a thing now? Like, man, when I was in school, they were like, you're not allowed to use Wikipedia. But I feel like, man, if I was writing like papers in college, I would be on ChatGPT all the time. All the time. It's just a time saver. Like, I still have to do the same work, but this part is just so much faster. And also, I have a hard time sometimes keeping all my thoughts like in line and in an order that you can understand. I'll watch my old videos sometimes and be like, what the fuck was I going on about? Because I'm just so ADD. So it's really nice to have something that can help like clean up my ideas and put them in a more kind of ordered, like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I'm saying. Yeah, now I get it. Yep. All right, we're repeating ourselves a couple times here, but that's okay. Like, I still have to go through and do my own version of this. Yeah, Rose the Hat and the True Knot are clear antagonists. There's a big demarcation between the heroes and the villains, which is very superhero. It's like we have the good guy team and the bad guy team. Superhero-like elements explore the elements in Dr. Sleep that are reminiscent of superhero stories, such as characters with unique powers. The mentorship between Dan and Abra, yep, in their quest to defeat a common enemy. Discuss the film's adventure aspect with characters traveling. Now, the way I did, I used to write scripts, but I felt like they just come across, I don't know, there's like a certain kind of phony quality to them that I don't love. So when I did the video for Everything Everywhere All at Once, I just gave myself a list of bullet points to hit in order, and then I just like would film and then just talk about off the top of my head each bullet point. So it's kind of more about trying to memorize my points and understand them really well and then explain them than it is trying to write like a very specific script, because it can get a little reedy where it's like blah 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 blah. It's like I want it to be more free flow of kind of like, hey, here's these ideas, almost like I just came up with them, is like the vibe I kind of want to have. Lawyers have used it. I believe it. Oh, I totally believe it with lawyers, because I mean, that's the thing too. You could ask this, hey, are there any, I have a client who's going through this situation. Are there any cases of the state versus so-and-so that are similar where the so-and-so won against the state? Instead of having to try to just thumb through and know all that, the thing can just spit out, here's 10 that are similar in some kind of ways, and here's why. Like that, yeah, for sure, dude. This would be, for research, this is huge. This is huge for research. When I was in school, they also kept saying you won't always have a calculator on hand. Yep, when I was in school, they said the same thing. They also told me I was going to have to use, like, you know, long form fucking math on a regular basis, which I cannot tell you the last time outside of school I have ever had to bust out a piece of paper to do some math. You know, I don't think I've ever had to get a protractor out. I don't think I've ever had to, like, do long division, you know, like, ever. It's so funny. The thing is, GPT made cases up for it. Oh, that's tough. That's tough. Well, but that wouldn't be that hard. You would ask it, it would make up cases, and hopefully some real ones. And then you just, like, at least you could use that as an index, right? Because it'll tell you, it probably won't tell you all the details of the case, so you still need to go read the case, so you can look up the case, you know? Like, I would definitely fact check this stuff. Like, that's why it said something earlier that I don't agree with, and that's why, like, I'm only going to stick with stuff that, as far as I understand it, makes sense and it sounds true, because they are known to hallucinate. When it said that he was the pioneer of this, I think it was taking what I said and taking it too far, and I'm like, I won't say that because I'm pretty sure that that's not true. I don't think he pioneered shared universes, but I get why it's saying that. So, like, you have to still use, like, I think a lot of people who use these things, they think it does it all for you is the problem, and they don't think they have to do any work. And like, no, I still have to make this video. Like, I'm going to be responsible for it, not the GPT. Use properly, AI is the perfect writer assistant. Yeah, exactly. What's so funny is that I made a video about this like 3 years ago now, and I'm already using it how I described that I would use it in that video. It's fucking crazy to me. Like, my video is already super outdated. It doesn't make any sense anymore. And it was funny because the guy I made the video with, like, did not agree with me. He's like, no, we're way further away from this. Yeah, 3 years ago. And this video already feels like it came out in the 50s. What's to say that robots couldn't take this data and do the same thing that we do with it? It's one of the things that was on George Orwell's mind. In 1984, there was all the time. Again, it's just humans doing it. Yeah.
They can be given what we're quantifiable up to a point.
Hurts to drink.
But no matter how good a computer gets at quantifying the input we give it about humans, the question remains, are humans that quantifiable in the first place?
I mean, we're quantifiable up to a point. It's kind of like you never know. I don't think computers necessarily can predict the next thing, you know what I mean? But they can definitely, they can be given what we already respond to, and then, you know, do.
Dude, I am not a wealthy man now, and I also keep making decisions that make me less money instead of more money. The company keeps doing better, but my cut of what we make keeps going lower and lower because they keep trying to democratize all of that. But I was broke when I started this channel, dude. Like, very broke. It's just, I was just looking at the background. I was in the basement sharing a room with one of my roommates. And these are like his movies that I put on a case and then went and bought these lights. And swapped out the little bulbs. And like, you can see the hanging, like, it's just, and then the camera footage quality, like, it's just so funny, dude. I think the camera I was using at the time was literally a GoPro. I had like an actual GoPro, or not even a GoPro. I had a knockoff GoPro for like $40.
Do it well, but I think the organic humans are the innovators.
Certainly, everyone's experience are so unique to themselves that you couldn't. This background is so funny. That's my bed, and this was obviously during the pandemic, is when I had time to start worrying about trying to make a YouTube channel. So here's my flex. I got toilet paper. Just coldly engineer a movie scene, for instance, to try to make you cry. Well, we may find out, like last time, that... By the way, that is Ryan Haley from Funhouse. I was super stoked to get to talk to Ryan Haley back when I had about 1,000 subscribers. It was fucking cool. It was really cool. Yeah, it was, So I was listening to my favorite podcast when I found out that Warner Brothers has decided to start using artificial intelligence to figure out what movies to greenlight.
Yeah, so basically...
Lots of money.
Greenlighting movies will no longer be up to human beings at Warner Brothers.
In their own words, the system can... This stuff all feels so dated now. Like, it's so... For this whole video, I agree. It is that stuff that makes you nostalgic for like, oh man, I remember when I was like really struggling. Like, I'm not crushing it by now. Like, I would wager most of you in my chat make more money per year than I do. But it was really bad back then. Like, I was like, you know, struggling to eat and like pay bills and stuff and trying to do this at the same time, you know, like, it's just, yeah, there's definitely, it's hard not to have like those nostalgic glasses for like, oh, like, that's so quaint, so cute. Like, I love it, you know, it is, I don't know. There's something in you that just always makes you go like, oh, wow, look how you started, man. Good on you, dude. Like, you kept at it. Good job. Can calculate in seconds what. And now it's funny because I feel like I'm starting over. I feel like I'm there again, you know, like having to make a new channel and just try. It's like the first one, I eventually kind of kept moving to the place where it just worked, and then I finally got to a place where it was working. But I'm not an oil baron. I don't just want it to be successful. I want it to be like what I want it to be. So now I have an opportunity to like, my bills are kind of taken care of, so I can, and I have low bills. I have 4 roommates, you know, like, I'm not, again, I'm not like an OTK guy. But like, now that at least I know I can probably eat, now I can focus on having a channel like this again, and I don't need the videos to perform well. I want them to, but I don't need them to. So it's nice because I can make them and not feel like, oh, well, it didn't do well, I have to change something. I can just keep doing it, which is cool. What's up, a Chicago Bulls fan? In their own words, the system can calculate in seconds what used to take days to assess by a human when it comes to general film package evaluation or a star's worth, said Tobias. And that's right now what we're seeing. Like, that's what I'm talking about. This research I'm doing, like, it is the one that offered me, none of us remember Dead Zone off the top of our head, and it brought it up. It's like, oh yeah, like, it can just do hours of research in such a short amount of time. Like, this same video already, with the amount of notes that I have, these notes would have taken me, you know, a couple of days to be able to acquire, and we were able to do it together in like an hour, which is fucking cool. super fucking cool, said Tobias Kaser, and reading that made me make this face, and this one. But then I started thinking. The ever-wise Duncan Trussell was the first man to bring up the concept of computer simulation theory to my attention.
Simulation theory, the idea that we're living in a simulator.
Oh yeah. Part of the idea goes as such. Technological advancement tends to, well, advance every year. And although virtual reality technology isn't really all that believable right now, if we can agree that it'll increase by at least 1% every year, then after 1,000 years, it still increases by 1,000%. And what does 1,000% improved Half-Life Alyx look like?
Jesus wept! Stop saying Jesus wept.
Point being that if the human race survives, then we're basically destined to make it there. Well, that same line of thinking made me wonder, if AI technology is destined to get better and better, then is it inevitable that robots will eventually be making movies? So I was talking to my best friend Ryan Haley.
Yeah, remind me your name again. What's your name?
Yeah, no problem. We were discussing. Ryan, that was so funny, dude. This guy agreed to come and do like a podcast with me, which I have, by the way, somewhere. I assume on the channel. I've got like an hour-long conversation with me and Ryan. And I remember my internet was all bad. I kept like cutting out and had to like restart the conversation. It was so embarrassing, dude. Oh my gosh, man. I had that dog in me, dude. I had that fucking dog in me. And yeah, it was funny because he agreed to do it, and then it's like, wait, what's your name? Like Ryan is fucking, he's got cool points for that. That's really fucking cool. He was not too cool for me at the time, which was really sick. Discussing the future of entertainment on the podcast.
The very near future, there's going to be a whole genre of movie where it's literally like, you know, it's going to be a novelty for sure, a gimmick, but it'll be fun to see, like, we'll go see The Godfather, you know, with any actor we want. We can probably program him on our phone. Like,
so let's first explore. See, it's funny because like he was way more bearish on the whole thing than I was. Like the whole conversation, he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna ever really be anything. I think like, you know, maybe at best case scenario, you're gonna go watch The Godfather with like Schwarzenegger's face swapped out. And I was like, I don't know, dude. I think like it's gonna be way more than that. And now it's 3 years later and we seem so much further than even I was pushing it. It's so funny, dude. It's really interesting. And you know what, Bonclay, I have said the same thing. I'm like, if the current decisions that have controlled the DC universe so far have gotten us where we are, then fuck it, let an AI decide. I completely agree with you. Not to mention, I already bring up the point that a lot of why people don't want AI to make the decision is because AI is very, it's like, you know, it's just going to look at the analytics and then come up with like, here's what people seem to like, and it's just going to spew out a bunch of shit. That's already what we do. That's already the chief problem with Hollywood right now. So if we're already doing what an AI would do, then what would really be the difference if an AI was the one who did it, you know? So I don't really see the difference, to be honest. Were you talking to someone with the username The Knife Staker in a video? I thought I recognized him. I've seen his channel. I don't know if that's his name, but that is Ryan Haley, and you probably know him from Funhouse, but he does have his own channel. I don't think it's called that, though. Explore what studios seem to be trying today.
Warner Brothers signed a deal with a company called Synalytic to use the AI-driven project management system. The studio will use the system's data and predictive analysis to influence decisions on projects that are near the greenlight stage. Some of that includes assessing the value of a celebrity, what sort of reach they have nationally, internationally, how much a film could potentially make in theaters with that star, and how much it could make on other platforms.
If you're paying any attention to conversation around movies in the first place, then you may have already noticed that all of these metrics are things that get checked just by humans. So if the AI is just doing what humans are already doing, but just a lot faster, then it seems a lot less like GLaDOS and a lot more like glorified calculator. Hardly a reason to make this face. So let's get weird. What about AI writing whole movies? Well, computers are still ultimately input-output machines, and until the singularity comes, they won't be able to just come up with a script. So if we were to task them with writing scripts, then we'd first have to feed them a whole bunch of data, and see if it could compile all that data into a functioning story. People already play with this kind of functionality, generally with hilarious results, kind of like a toy.
This apple cider is a granola bar, and it hurts to drink.
But no matter how good a computer gets at quantifying the input we give it about humans, the question remains, are humans that quantifiable in the first place?
I mean, we're quantifiable up to a point. It's kind of like you never know. I don't think computers necessarily can predict the next thing, you know what I mean? But they can definitely, they can be given what we already respond to, and then, you know, do it well. But I think the organic humans are the innovators.
Certainly, everyone's experience are so unique to themselves that you couldn't just coldly engineer a movie scene, for instance, to try to make you cry. Or we may find out, like last time, that this kind of thing happens all the time. Again, it's just humans doing it. Oh like the weird sad music.
If you want to make your audience hate your villain, then you can show that villain kicking a dog. It'll work on almost everyone, almost every time. But that's just a moment. Let's go a little more broad. An entire recycled story arc that makes people feel triumphant is the good old underdog story. Give us a plot about a man, down on his luck, defeating a privileged man with much worse work ethic. And you'll get us hooked just about every time, using a pretty algebraic system. Pixar even goes so far to have 22 rules for storytelling, some of which are, you admire a character for trying more than for their success, and once upon a time there was, every day, one day, because of that, until finally. There's loads of storytelling rules like this, the concept of act structures, even the hero's journey, which Dan Harmon so famously worked down into a story circle.
We do an 8-step story process here. I call it an embryo. You've got a character that you can identify with that has some kind of need, wish, incompletion, causes them to go across a threshold where the story changes direction. They go
So
down.
this whole segment is that
these
point of, all these rubrics.
Build a really strong structure for making stories that get narrower and narrower, until theoretically, a robot could fill in the blanks, kind of like a Mad Libs. And it's not just movies being given the algebraic treatment. Someone like Katy Perry or Britney Spears is just as meticulously sculpted to become a pop icon as a Scarlett Johansson is.
As of 2010, a hit song is 114.2 beats per minute, 3 minutes and 59 seconds long, moderately danceable, and in the key of C major. Just add some lyrics about love and or the club, and you've probably got yourself a hit.
So what's to say that robots couldn't take this data and do the same thing that we do with it? It's one of the things that was on George Orwell's mind. In 1984, there was a concept called prolefeed. Prol meaning proletariat, a Roman word for the people. And prolefeed just represented very low quality sustenance. So for instance, you could think food, but computers in that story even made the music. Soulless drivel that was just made by algorithms, meant for quick and low effort consumption. So even if robots aren't making the next Schindler's List, maybe they could make the next Ridiculous Six. But maybe not. Because maybe even if we fed every Rocky movie to a robot, it still wouldn't understand why we love that story. To an extent, the robot would have to have a certain kind of understanding about.
That's not true. I don't even agree with that anymore, though. Like, because you don't need to know why. You just need to know that it works, right? You don't know why when you press the send button, your text makes it to your friend. You don't understand exactly the mechanics of that, but you know that when you do that, your friend gets the text. So I disagree with Chad from 3 years ago. Like, the computer doesn't need to understand why it makes us cry. It just needs to understand that if I do this, I get this result from people. Like, it's less about what the computer can do and more about us understanding what we really are. And we're just fucking robots ourselves. Like, we're input output machines as much as the robot is. We're just really fucking, Nicholas Sparks novels or John Green novels. Like, John Green novels are some of the most fucking formulaic novels you'll ever find in your life. And he's crushing all the time, you know? Yep. I did not know about the fake beef. That's funny though.
About us as people. It would need to see how we react to different stimulus and then work backwards trying to press the correct intellectual and emotional buttons. Which seems like a bit of a stretch. Oh yeah, wait, never mind. This is already exactly how social media marketing tools work.
For the first time in history, books are reading people rather than vice versa. As you read a book on Kindle, Kindle is following you, and Kindle, which means Amazon, knows which pages you read slow, which pages you read fast, and on which page you stop reading the book. And based on that, Amazon have quite a good idea of what you like or dislike.
Possibly the most macabre mainstream thing that's happening today is Disney owning the souls of their deceased actors.
Which one of you decided to go and start bad-mouthing the Chinese government?
They can't even.
I totally agree with this still, by the way. I hate this. I think it's gross. The idea that, like, what's this guy's name? Not Chris Plummer. Whatever his name is. I forgot. Forgive me. This technology didn't exist. It wasn't even fathomable when he died. So the fact that Disney like gets his family to sign off on like, oh yeah, we own your image in perpetuity. Like we can just add you into a movie anytime now that you're dead is so dystopian to me. I think it's, Peter Cushing. Thank you. I think it's fucking dystopian. I hate this idea. Like it's creepy enough that it could happen to someone alive, but the fact that you're already fucking in your final resting place and then there you are in another fucking Star Wars movie is gross to me. I hate this.
Even rest in their graves without their likenesses being paraded around for blockbusters so that Disney can make a little bit more money. One could imagine a creepy future where an actor's likeness is in the fine print of this movie contract to then be deepfaked later.
Yeah, I could see some, like exactly what you just said. Some young actor signs their image away when they're young, and next thing you know, they're a famous actor, but they never acted in the movies or got any of the money, but they just signed their image away.
In theory, an artificial intelligence could write an entire CGI movie and cast it without anyone's input in the first place. And to my earlier point, it'd probably theoretically only work well with like action movies that are very low on dialogue.
All right, yeah, see, you can hear my hesitance, you know, like 3 years ago, I was like, yeah, I mean, it could probably only do, nowadays, like, nah, man, nah, like, just give it a little time, whatever you think your favorite movie is that only a human could make, and there's no way a computer, like, give it some time, just wait.
But an even creepier thought would be, what if it did make masterpieces?
If you fed the thing, you know, the 100 best works that legitimately make people cry, you know, and then it doesn't know why they make you cry. It just is like, oh, well, I'm going to replicate this, you know, and make it, you know, whatever, evolve it or whatever somehow. I don't know.
What if the computer understood us so well that it hacked into our brains through our eyes and our ears? Our very understanding of what art even is could be redefined. So now let's find an equilibrium.
Which is funny because like I sounded like a psycho when I said this shit 3 years ago. Like if you heard me talking about that, you would be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. AI is going to redefine art as a whole idea. And then now, like literally the SAG-AFTRA strike was partially because of this. And like people are actually having to have these conversations about like what even is art at a certain point. Like it's so fucking weird, man. It's so weird. Yeah, it's weird because when they sort of did that in Back to the Future 2, they lost the case on that. Crispin Glover was still alive. Yeah, that's true. I remember that. I read about that.
Let's say that there's more to art than just a bunch of numbers, and you do really need that kind of soul, for lack of a better word. Well, maybe a technology kind of like that could work as, in essence, a screenwriting aid. A program where you begin to write, and then a Skynet version of Clippy shows up and starts asking you if you want any help.
Dude, we're doing it. I'm literally doing what I talked about 3 years ago right now with you. Is that not crazy? That's so weird. 3 years later, I'm actively doing the thing I'm hypothesizing about.
Got a nice little story you're working on there, a big novel.
Then when you start writing the shooting script, it could start suggesting for you angles and lenses. After that, it could give you suggestions on who to cast in the role and what hair color they should have. Maybe an unholy fusion of man and machine is the future of art, where it'll be very difficult for the artist himself to take all the credit. Guess we'll find out.
And there we are.
No, there's some good ones, but there's also, we're at such a point now where there's so many video essayists where I feel like the term has lost some of its meaning to me.
Of course.
Where it's like,
100%.
It's become an oversaturated market.
Incredibly oversaturated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some that aren't so good.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of, I think there's like cliches now.
100%.
Or like, I don't know. There's sometimes I like read titles and I'm like, oh my god, like what is this?
Yeah. Like the 80s VHS filter. A little bit of like lo-fi beats to study to in the background, and then the way you project your voice is like you're giving like a very calm lecture, and then you just say something that isn't really even that smart or insightful, but just because of the presentation, it's like it makes it. So people are like, ooh, this is intelligent video. I really want to parody that style so bad. Not naming names here, but yeah, there's a bunch of bullshit in that category.
So funny. So yeah, isn't that just nuts though that like we're just actually doing this now? It's so crazy to me. All right. So where were we? Good versus evil, superhero-like elements. Did we do this yet? Oh no, I was going to keep doing it. Okay, cool. So where did we get that? Expanding section 3. Yep. Okay, great. So now, how would you expound upon section 4? Get rid of section 5. And here we go. Right. Painters always use assistants to finish their work. They never do 100% of the work. That's a great example. Animators has a good example. You have all the tweening artists. But even Sam Rockwell used to get a lot of shit. I watched some video essay talking about it. They were explaining how Sam Rockwell used to project like a real... he would have like real people, and then he would project the picture onto a canvas, and then he would paint and in essence kind of trace to an extent. And there was a lot of people in the art community who thought he wasn't like the real deal because they're like, oh, well, you're just tracing, that doesn't count. And it's like, it's that thing of using these tools. But they also, those other painters were never able to produce images that looked like Sam Rockwell. Did I say Sam Rockwell? I meant Norman Rockwell. You knew who I meant. So it's like, this is the same exact thing where it's like someone could be like, oh, well, I had to write mine from scratch and do all my own research. And it's like, I was using better tools than you. And when you start to play the you're not allowed to use better tool system, then you have to start going back to like, you know, oh, well, you can't use a pen because we used to have to use a quill, and you can't use a computer because we used to have to use a typewriter. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, it just feels very, I don't know, whatever. It feels Luddite-ish just because Ludditeness is your religion more so than practicality. And I, you know, when I see videos of me in the basement struggling to eat, but then trying to like come up with money to make videos, or pay the girls like $20 in gas to come do the first reaction videos that we did because we weren't making any money yet. It's like I don't have time for, you know, religion. I have to be practical. It makes me think of Llewellyn Davis inside Llewellyn. No, what's his name? Llewyn Davis? Whatever. That movie with the Coen brothers made makes me think of that Llewyn Davis, I think. That character. It's like he's who I don't ever want to be. You know, I don't want to be that guy who's like, I'm too good for whatever thing, and I would rather like never have any success with the art that I'm trying to make because it needs to be so pure. You know, like I think that guy's awful. That's kind of a hellish nightmare a lot of artists put themselves in, I think. It's like a casket you put yourself in. Even if they did have assistants helping, there's still real people doing the work. It's true. Have grind your own paints and use flint tools only. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly, yeah. The human still has to make the executive decisions at the end of what to keep. Right. Actors, directors still have a lot of room for, oh, totally. Well, and me, like, I still have to, like, rewrite and make this video, you know, and bring up the points and then do all the editing, which is, like, actually the really hard part. So, I don't know. I don't know what it would take. It would honestly take, it would have to get to the point where I could like press a button and it like made the whole video for me before I would start to be like, okay, well, you're not really doing anything now, you know? And that is a scary place to get because my biggest concern is just saturation. If we ever did get to that point, it would be like one company could produce as many YouTube videos in a day as anyone, you know, could make in a year, and it would just be like completely flood the market, and it would be very, very, very tough to like break out in that environment. That's the scary kind of down spot for me. But as long as like it's an aid and I still have to do most of the work, then you know, it's just another tool to me. All right, compare the true now, or start by introducing the purpose of the section. To draw direct parallels between Dr. Sleep and the X-Men series, particularly focusing on narrative and thematic elements. Well, also this too, like the stuff it's telling me what to do. It's not necessarily giving me all the speech. Like I could ask for it, but also you would be unimpressed. Like if I said actually write out exactly what to say, it wouldn't be very good. Right now we're at the point where it's pretty good at outlining, but it's not great at like specifics. Compare the true not brotherhood. Discuss how both groups are organized, have distinct powers. Highlight charismatic and powerful leaders. Oh, see, that's a great point. Comparing Rose the Hat to Magneto. Like, I hadn't even said that yet, and that was an idea that it popped up with. That's good. Character abilities, right, yep. The various psychic abilities in Dr. Sleep. Compare them to the mutant powers in X-Men. Focus on how these abilities define the characters and drive the plot. I specifically want to point out how, like, the Brotherhood is a group of guys who are super-powered villains, and they all have a different, unique superpower. That's the true not. Like, it's a group of villains, and they all have a unique superpower. And you understand how their powers work and how they team up and how they combo. And these are things I think Kubrick would have thought were way too obvious and way too broad. Yeah, I think it's getting there. Metallic Madness. The biggest issue with AI art right now is it's extremely difficult to get exactly what you want. But once you can get just about exactly what you want, then I think we'll really, really, really have some issues with that. Yeah, but I think that's the biggest thing holding it back is like you can get very similar to what you were looking for, but not quite exactly what you're looking for yet. But it's getting better all the time. ChatGPT's already gotten better because it allows the GPT interface now to talk to you while it then interprets and then makes with DALL-E 3 the image, you know. Yep, characters traveling, discovering, confronting evil forces. Compare this to a quest-like narrative in the X-Men movies. Discuss the significance of these journeys in character development and plot progression in both Dr. Sleep and X-Men. Compare the character arcs in Dr. Sleep, especially Dan and Abra, with those of X-Men characters like Wolverine and Professor X. I mean, right, exactly right. I totally, yeah, it's agreeing with me, but I'm agreeing with it via myself, I guess, that, yeah, Dan Torrance and Abra have a relationship like Professor X and Wolverine do. Or Professor X and Laura. Highlight the themes of personal growth, overcoming past traumas, and the journey towards heroism. Yep, that is straight up hero stuff right there. And then summarize how they blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. I want to ask it, what are there any X-Men movies that have a plot outline that is quite similar to Dr. Sleep? Like the beats line up well with each other. You can also speak kind of stupid, and it's really good at interpreting your meaning, which is impressive to me because I used to do programming and like as a programmer you learn exactly how stupid computers actually are, and that's why this is always blowing my mind, because like I have never seen a computer able to interpret anything. You can never infer to a computer. They always do exactly what you told it to. So the fact that this thing is able to kind of go, I know what you're getting at, is mind-boggling to me, you know, absolutely mind-boggling. And again, this would be something that would take me forever to try to do research on, to the point I probably wouldn't. But if this has examples, then dude, killing it. Finding an X-Men movie with a plot that closely mirrors Dr. Sleep in terms of specific plot beats might be challenging, as the narratives in X-Men films generally revolve around mutant-human relations, societal issues, larger-scale conflicts. True. However, there are thematic and structural elements in the X-Men films that resonate with Dr. Sleep's narrative. Here's a comparison. So, The Last Stand. Central theme of misunderstood powers. Both movies feature characters with special abilities that are misunderstood or feared by others. In Dr. Sleep, it's psychic powers, and X-Men, it's the mutant abilities. The Last Stand also deals with the controversy. Which one is Last Stand? Is that X-Men 3? Because that'd be really awesome to use the worst X-Men movie as a comparison. That'd be very funny. It deals with a controversy over a cure for mutants, similar to how Dr. Sleep explores exploitation of psychic powers for personal gain. Yeah, that's loose. That's loose. Group dynamics, right? The True Knot and the Brotherhood of Mutants in X-Men: The Last Stand both represent groups with unique abilities and charismatic. Yeah, that's true. But so does 1 and 2. Mostly 1 and 3. Protecting the innocent, Dr. Sleep, Dan, and Abra protect psychic children from the True Knot. Similarly, the X-Men often find themselves protecting younger or less experienced mutants from the government. Confrontation resolution, both films culminate in a significant confrontation between the opposing forces. So this is kind of more just like how Dr. Sleep fits with generic superhero movies as a whole, which I think is right. While the specific plot beats may not align perfectly, these thematic parallels can be highlighted in your video to draw comparisons between them and X-Men movies, particularly The Last Stand. This approach allows you to explore the similarities in character dynamic themes, narrative structure, reinforcing the argument about Dr. Sleep's alignment with superhero genre conventions. See, this is so useful, man. This is just so useful. Ask it to suggest a few ideas for YouTube thumbnails that visually encompass this thesis. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah, Danny is retired, shine dude, saying leave it alone and stay quiet, closer to Logan. That's true. That's so true. That is very fucking true. Yeah, they both have that Western deconstructionist vibe of like, I'm an old head who used to do this stuff that you now youngsters think is exciting, but I know how it ends, and so I'm retired and I'm over it. And then I have to turn it back on to be able to help. Yeah, writing this down. I'm writing this down. That's very, very fucking true. Yep, that's very true. Let's go back up to the top. both Logan and Dr. Sleep feature the old retired guy who gave up the gun long ago, but now have to turn it back on in order to protect the next generation from an evil super villain threat, but have concerns that they don't still got it. Bonus comparisons to The Dark Knight Returns. Keep in mind, this is DC and may muddle the message. Wolverine is hesitant to join forces with the good guys and gets involved in the first one too, to be honest. Right, that's the what do you call it? The rejection of, what's that called? It's in the Save the Cat plot structure of refuse the call. Normally your hero has to get told, you know, hey, come on the adventure, and the first instinct is no, I'm busy. And then normally the adventure positions the hero where they don't really have a choice now. Like they're just too far in at this point. They can't turn back. So it's all very basic hero's journey stuff, and Kubrick was not doing like generic plot structure hero's journey stuff in his movie, so it has a very different vibe. And then the sacrifice arc at the end is worth, I mean, both of those are worth mentioning. Like, you know, ending sacrifice arc is similar. Refusal of the call is similar. These aren't hyper superhero tropes, but they are save the cat tropes that Kubrick was largely missing. The structure of that movie is quite unlike most other movies I've seen. How strong your thesis is by now asking ChatGPT to create a list of points that suggest your theory is incorrect. Oh, that's really interesting. I never thought about that. That's a great, I love that. Let's do that. Though the True Knot also hunts kids with abilities, so some more similar. Yeah, it brought that up. It brought up that, yeah, the good guys have to protect the youth from the bad guys, and yeah, that's very similar. The Shining doesn't follow that action-adventure stuff. Yep, exactly right. Even Lampshades it with Halloran showing up. Oh, I know, right? That's like the earliest I can think of that huge twist. If you guys have seen Collateral, I've always talked about how I thought that was the best part of that movie, is that there's a cop character who's following closely behind the whole time, and they finally show up at the moment you think that, okay, now we're going to switch things around and the cop is going to save the hero, and boom, instead, immediately the cop gets gunned down. It is exactly like Halloran showing up in the third act and getting stabbed in the chest. Like, it's damn near basically an homage to The Shining. So Kubrick was like really ahead of the game when it came to some of those kind of like, oh shit, like no one expects it to go that way in 1980, you know. But I want to ask I want to fill out one more point, and then I want to ask both what it thinks about thumbnails, and then I do want to ask it to point holes in my theory. So expository techniques, okay. How would you expound upon point 5? You also don't have to put in, what do you columns? Question marks and stuff. It's very, very good at understanding what you're getting at. This is fun. You guys having fun? I'm having fun doing this. I normally do this alone. I've never done this on. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's very vulnerable feeling to have 13 people watching over your shoulder as you're trying to come up with ideas for things and like come up with writing something. But I have gotten very used to the usual crowd who hangs out in here, and I trust you guys. I'm also not like the most you know, sensitive with this stuff. Like, I understand that it's a process and it's going to start shitty and you work it out, but it feels weird to not be fumbling through the dark by yourself, you know, like to have people around is fucking strange. So that's why I don't do this very often, but I might try to do this more in the future. I want to think about what aspects of this are like filmable or like live streamable, because I would like to have you guys involved more through the process. I think it's a lot of fun. Eventually when the other channel grows, or once I get you guys used to, you know, the other channel, I might do live streams of this stuff on that channel. I think it would make more sense than being over here, because people are going to hop in and be like, what the fuck's going on? This is for reactions. Shining doesn't... Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so here we go. Section 5. Okay. Expository techniques, audience engagement, Dr. Sleep. All right, begin with an overview of what exposition is and its role in storytelling. Highlight the balance needed. I mean, to be fair, it is... I think it's opened every segment with this, and it's fair. You don't want to spend too long, but it is a good idea. I suffer from a lot. If you've watched my old video essays, the biggest critique I've gotten from like my friends and family is that they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think I take a lot of things for granted, that people just understand, you know, certain basic storytelling techniques so when I start complaining about exposition for 20 minutes and then someone's like, what is exposition exactly? Like, how does it work in a movie? It's like, oh yeah, fuck. Like, you know, I just make these assumptions. So it is smart to like not cite my sources, but like define my terms. Highlight the balance needed in exposition to avoid underwhelming. Yeah, exactly right. Yep. Analyze the specific scenes in Dr. Sleep where exposition is used effectively. For example, discussion between Dan and Abra about the nature of their powers and the history of the True Knot. Discuss how these expository moments provide clarity on the films. The one I probably am going to hit more is Halloran, just straight up, you know, rambling for a while about at the park bench. Like, he really, really explains what the fuck is happening. And that's almost Halloran's whole job in Dr. Sleep. Like, every time he shows up, he's there to like explain some stuff. It's fine, but there are more and less obvious ways to do that. Yeah, what is Diet Jesus anyway? Why did you call your channel Diet Jesus? That's exactly what I'm talking about. And it's funny because like, now that you guys kind of know what I'm about and like how I started the channel and why I started the channel, calling the channel Diet Jesus makes a lot of sense. But now that we're a reaction channel, it's like, it is a weird, it's a ridiculous name for a reaction channel. But that's just kind of how capitalism has slowly pushed us into another lane, you know? We just are somewhere now that we weren't before, and is what it is, you know? So that's what it's called. Everyone's used to this name now, so I momentarily thought about stealing it for the other channel, but I was like, nah, it's just, we already have this branding. We have 130-something thousand subs that know us as Diegesis, so... And also, like, all of our old videos would look stupid. We're all like, hey, welcome to Diegesis, and now it's called something else, so it's just is what it is. I should have called my new channel Diet Jesus, but that would make even less sense. So, contrast this with with the minimalistic exposition in Kubrick's The Shining, where much is left to the interpretation. Discuss how the difference in approach affects the audience's understanding and connection to the story. Yeah, impact on audience engagement. Delve into how. Okay, I kind of don't agree. Well, yeah, by making the narrative more accessible and easier to follow similar to superhero films. Okay, I get where it's coming from. Discuss how this can lead to a deeper emotional investment. Well, see, that's the thing. I don't think it does lead to a deeper emotional investment. That's what I mean. You have to, like, proofread this stuff. You can't just, you know, press the button and then be like, okay, it told me what to do. Here we go. Examine how Dr. Sleep balances exposition with maintain. Okay, man, it's really fucking hitting the exposition bit hard. It has a whole segment just dedicated to exposition. Damn. Okay, that's too much. This should be a throwaway bit inside of another bit. I don't want to have like a 6-part breakdown on just the expository scenes. But okay, that's fine. Okay, so we have that. All right, now what I'm going to say, okay, now with all that we have discussed, can you please remake for me the outline or the entire video outline? Okay, I'm going to go grab some water. And I'll be right back. What do you mean by that, Wu Xiaoling? I don't think I'm familiar with the type of content you're talking about. Or if I am, I just don't, like, I need more explanation to understand what you're getting at. All right. Back to smooth jazz. Discussion of shared universe nexus, collocation, crossover, is See, I think like this is too long for like segment 1. So I think what I'll do is hit the first like couple of points and then I'll integrate the other points as we go. So I'll just kind of lay a very thin foundation down, and then as I dig into the other points, I'll pop back to these points to be like, see, isn't that kind of like Stephen King also? Oh, see how that's kind of like Stephen King also? I think that's a more fun way to hear it. If everyone kind of knows everything I'm going to say before I say it, then I think it makes it feel like, okay, I get it. I get what he's getting at. Oh, Fine Brothers React channel use a lot of lower third pop-up text to explain context or trivia. Ah, yeah. Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, and editors for reaction channels now add pop-up text to preempt reaction mistakes, like mistaking an actor. Oh, that's true, right. You know, to be honest with you, I think that those are used for kind of different reasons. Reactors, I think when we do it, often it's because you know that you're going to get flooded with comments that are like, you know, actually, blah, 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 blah. So it's the editor knowing something that the reactor didn't know. And if they're the same person, it's the reactor now knowing something they didn't know while they're watching it. And so they're kind of just trying to preempt like a bunch of negative comments, because I've done it. I mean, obviously I have that whole segment like that in our Saving Private Ryan reaction. But with the Fine Brothers, I do think that's something a little different. And I've also kind of thought about doing that too, but I thought it would honestly just be more distracting and kind of annoying, so I didn't do it. Yeah. Here.
God. Okay. Ryan. Come on. I know I'm like, does anybody have it?
Right here. Yeah, exactly. Last time Ariana was incorrectly berated for not noticing they were the same guy, which they aren't the same guy, so it was like 50 fucking comments. They're like, how does she not recognize that this man and this other man with a completely different face aren't the same. They're the same guy. What's wrong with them? Notice how this guy has like real defined dark eyebrows, and this guy has no eyebrows, and notice how the shape of their face is totally different. Like, come on, it's the same guy. Notice how this guy's like a low-level grunt, and this guy's an SS officer. Totally same dude. What the fuck? How did you guys not recognize them as the same person? Oh God, it was like freaking. From my perspective, it felt like half the comments. It was so annoying. So it's like trying to get ahead of that shit in the edit is, I think, where a lot of people do that stuff. Yeah, seeing the usage a lot. It works pretty well. For example, Forest and Fire series. Well, yep. And I do think that stuff's fun. I like those ideas. I've thought about integrating them, but most of the time I just think it'd be kind of more distracting. But yeah. Makes me think about studying Shakespeare in school. One page was the text, other side was all annotations explaining it. Yeah, right. Yeah, it does slow it down, but like it is different when you know it. I mean, it's like how many people in high school had to do a Shakespeare play or watch a school play? And you can always tell, like, when the, kids who had to read this stuff so they could learn it were learning the words, but they don't really know what is happening. Like, it happened. I saw a lot of people who would do this stuff and they just did not really understand the point of the scene. So they said all the words, but you're like, yeah, their inflection and their emotion, it totally doesn't match what is happening in the scene because they don't really understand what's happening in the scene, so trying to break that down in a way where you understand it is definitely part of the struggle bus. Fine Bros does a lot of multi-react content that's snappier. Long form react, don't know if it works quite the same. That's true. Like Fine Bros is much closer to like how Katya and Trixie do reactions, which is like either reactions to short form content in the first place. I don't think I've ever seen them do like a movie, but even if they were, they would probably show you like a couple of scenes and then that's it. They're not having people sit and watch like an entire movie or an entire episode of a TV show. So our niche in the reaction area is a sub niche of like a sub niche. Like there's YouTube videos and then there's a niche, which is reaction content, which is like Sniper Wolf to me is like the level 1. That's like the most broad type of like, I'm a reactor, I'm a reaction channel. And then we do a sub niche genre within that genre, which is we do movie and like TV show reactions. So it's really interesting how it all gets so subdivided. And yep, contrasting Kubrick style with the, okay, see, so this stuff probably everything after here, like all this highlighted stuff, will get worked into the rest of the video rather than all of these 6 points, 7 points being hit in the beginning. Because the problem is if your intro is too long, which I have been very fucking guilty of, by the time and I'm guilty of this in conversation, you've probably just seen me do it in live streams, where I'll give so much explanation for something before getting into the meat of the topic that the topic now just feels like it's about this. So I'm going to try to shorten this up so we can get to the meat of the... Because I need to fit basically segment 1 and segment 2 as the intro before getting into the meat of the topic, which is this. Section 3 is actually like the real meat. So this needs to be very brief, and then I'll come back and like expound upon these points as I'm going. And I think that will be a lot better. So it'll kind of be like, here's a quick breakdown of King's style. Here's a quick breakdown of Kubrick's contrasting style. This leads us to Dr. Sleep. And this will also introduce the superhero theory with this part. So we're going to introduce like King style and how it's similar to superhero style, and then contrast it with the most famous movie from him was made by someone who had the exact opposite style, and then bring it into the transition into into Dr. Sleep, and how Dr. Sleep is much closer to the hero style, and Flanagan pushes it into like, that's almost the story is kind of like King into Kubrick into Flanagan. And the differences between those three guys, and how like this guy had a proto superhero vibe, this guy went anti superhero, and then this guy went like full superhero. that's kind of the general theme vibe transition that I'm going to be making. And then, yeah, introducing, because I can't have Introduction to Dr. Sleep happen after 13 points. Can't have 13 points of data before finally getting into the fucking, here's what the video is about. Like, that's ridiculous, but we can shift this around and kind of work it in. And then, yeah, alignment with King's narrative style, superhero-like elements in Dr. Sleep, redemption, incorporation of the original ending, conclusion of the transition, right? And then 4 is then digging more deeply into direct comparisons between, like, the True Knot versus Brotherhood of Mutants. Yeah. The expository stuff, which what I'm going to get into is not just exposition bad. It's going to get into how exposition, like, you know, the original fear, the deepest fear is the fear of the unknown. So exposition is the enemy of that. So if you want to make a horror film, you need people not to understand too much about what's going on, or else, because once you understand something, it doesn't feel so scary anymore. You're like, okay, I understand it now. Like, it's in the small little box. I get it. I understand. That's okay. I know what not to do. So when you overly explain everything, that kind of moves you into like thrilling sci-fi vibes where you're like, oh, cool, goody, this is interesting. More so than, oh no, that's scary. Does that make sense? And then, yeah, like the fact that like Dr. Sleep is an adventure film. They go from place to place and fight different bad guys, and conclusions of the comparative analysis. Introduction to exposition. See, like this is ridiculous. This does not need to be a whole last segment. That's ridiculous. We probably won't use almost any of this, or whatever points I make in segment 5 are just going to be dispersed through segment 3 and 4. Cool. All right, now I like Dan's idea a lot. I'm going to ask this thing to tell me to go fuck myself. Yeah, it turns into a battle instead of a chase. That's a good way to put it. Hitting the hooks in 4 songs in one video, chopping a lot and editing versus trying to get the feel of watching a video with someone and see their response. Yeah, that's true, right. Yeah, like, there's definitely an alternate universe where I showed the girls, like, you know, top 10 action scenes from Hong Kong action films, and had just, like, you know, the girls' reactions to, like, oh, wow, that was a crazy action scene. That was another crazy action scene, and then move on, you know? Or the opposite of, like, here's one action scene, but I have 10 reactors, and I just have little segments of all of them reacting to the same one action scene. Like, that's an angle we could have gone as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of ways. You know, the reason that we did it how we did it is because my whole first love here is movies. I want to talk about movies. And so this was, like, the most I could think about how to sell out and make, like, really simple, easy to consume content while at least being in the wheelhouse of film discussion. So it was kind of like, okay, you know, like, it was definitely a step up from, like, making slime videos or Elsa Gate videos or something like that. Or just having the girls react to, like, viral TikToks, you know? Like, I tried to keep it as close to something I give a shit about as I could, but ultimately it did still kind of just get away from me. So, you know, it is what it is. You grow. Okay. So, let's do an experiment. If you were someone trying to poke holes in my thesis, what points would you use to counter my argument? We'll just start there. Remains firmly rooted in the horror genre due to its themes, atmosphere, and narrative style. Highlight that the presence of supernatural elements and focus on psychological, emotional terror differentiate it significantly from typical superhero narratives. I don't even necessarily completely agree with that, but whatever. I would say that it pushes the horror harder than the superhero movies have, but the superhero movies have absolutely delved into all of these things. Doctor Strange has played with this stuff. Wanda has played with this stuff. King's broader narrative style. Point out that Stephen King's writing, while it includes elements of heroism and adventure, is not limited to. Okay, that's true. I'm definitely need to make it a point not to make it sound like I'm saying that Stephen King was like a superhero writer. He wrote lots of things, and Cujo doesn't fit what I'm talking about. And, you know, The Green Mile doesn't necessarily fit what I'm talking about, although it kind of fucking does. We still have a superpowered person in it who's like dealing with inequality and blah, blah, blah. Emphasize that King often blends multiple genres. That's also very true, but so do superhero movies. Unique aspects of his adaptation argue that The Shining also contains elements of clear moral struggle, though presented more subtly, and its ambiguity and psychological depth are not inherently contrary to elements of heroism. Although, again, I would love to hear someone's argument that there is a clear, you know, moral struggle. Like, it doesn't feel so much like it is. It's just people trying to survive. Wendy isn't necessarily like super heroic. She's just a person who like is in a very bad situation trying to survive. It's one of the biggest complaints about Wendy is that she's not more proactive. Challenge the notion that characters in Dr. Sleep are purely heroic or villainous. I don't know. I think that's pretty fucking cut and dry. They're gonna say complexity because of Danny. Yeah, right. But Danny is complex for about 5 minutes in the beginning of the movie, and then as soon as he goes to AA, we have full bore good man. Like, he is a good guy. Rose the Hat is never complex. She is bad. She is just a bad person with bad goals. Counter that the engagement reception of Dr. Sleep by audiences and critics were more in line with horror genre expectations rather than superhero film. Well, that's of course, that's why it's the secret, you know, it's the hidden theme. The movie is presented like a horror film, but it reads like a superhero film. Highlight how the film's marketing. Okay, that's unimportant. Influence of the horror genre. I argue that trends. And okay, well, you know what? Honestly, the fact that I think it gave me really weak counter arguments strengthened my argument. Yeah. Recent trends in superhero cinema, especially like Logan and Joker, incorporate darker, more complex themes, blurring the lines between the genres. That's part of my argument. Like, this is in defense of my argument. That's kind of funny. Okay, well, that's cool. If people have these things to say against me, then I feel pretty confident in my thesis. Yeah. I mean, does anyone in the chat think I'm totally off base? I don't mind. I'm just curious. Yeah, I like those too. So, I mean, the thing about those, Bonclea, was that they still took a lot of work to make. And my feeling was that if I'm going to put that much work into making something, I would rather it be like a video essay than just be another discussion video. So yeah, like I liked that idea as well, but it was just like, I could keep doing that, or I could put that same energy into something I think is a little bit more soul feeding, and I'd probably rather go that route. Yeah, this is what I really use ChatGPT for, asking for counterpoints or flaws to help me strengthen my argument or theme. I like that. No, this is great. This is a good idea. I do it. I've done it every so often. I haven't thought to do it for like at this level of just give me a complete, you know, break down my thing. But I've definitely been like, what's the counter argument to this, or what, like in specific points where, especially things I wasn't sure about. Or I would just ask it, do you think I'm full of shit? You know, like, what do you think about this bit? Does this make sense to you? You know? Imagine if Green Mile spent time explaining his powers. Right. How they are caused by a high midichlorian count. Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about. Exactly that. It would be like if the Green Mile came out and then, you know, 40 years later, the Green Mile 2, Electric Boogaloo came out. And this time John Coffey is like, well, you see, I have this midichlorian count, and that's why I can do blah, blah, blah. And specifically what I'm taking out of you. And the reason it looks like flies is because, oh my God, I can see it though, right? There would be like an origins. It'd be like the Green Mile origins. And it would be like John Coffey when he was young and fucking sexy. And he'd be out there like, and there would be the first time he used his powers, it was because there was like a dead person and they had flies all over them. So that's why his power looks like flies. They would, you know, and then when they showed you the first fly, people would go, ooh, oh, do you get like, hey, remember? Like, ooh, flies. That's why it looks like, I get it. I remember that. Remember, like, oh, I can see it. It's totally some stupid shit some fucking executive would come up with. And again, like, so how would a fucking AI be worse than that, you know? But you can all fucking see it, right? Yeah, it just makes your skin crawl thinking about it. It's so real. It's so fucking real. It's the thing with all the fucking Star Wars prequels. It's like, I don't need to know how Han Solo got his name, and now I'm pissed that I know how he got his name because it was fucking stupid, you know? Like, I don't need that stuff. I don't need, like, oh, here's how he got his blaster. Like, back to that fucking video talking about, you know, the Lion King. It was like, oh yeah, he got his stick. It's like his lightsaber, you know, like that. No one wants that. If you do want that, you probably hang out in different circles than me.
Well, look who's come down to mingle with the commoners. Sarabi and I didn't see you at the presentation of Simba.
The way it's presented feels like Jon Favreau was expecting the audience to stand up and cheer at this point.
Yeah. How did Nick Fury doesn't have an eye? How did he lose his eye? Where did his eye go? Why doesn't he have an eye? I need to know. I need the details. It's just details. We had people who complained when we were watching the extended versions of Lord of the Rings, and people were mad because they're like, oh, they didn't fit in the detail about why Gimli asked for her hair, and that it was a big deal because she gave him 3 strands of hair when this other guy kept asking for only 1 strand and she wouldn't give it to him. And in the future, that's not going to happen in this movie series you're watching right now. In the distant future, him and Legolas are going to help rebuild the kingdoms between the dwarves and the elves, and they're going to, and the hairs are going to matter somehow because of that. And it's like, it's just detail. You like the fans want endless expository detail, and it's up to you as the creator to save them from themselves. It's like, you don't want to know what Darth Vader was like as a kid, because turns out he went from goofy to petulant and annoying. And now you're going to go back and watch those old movies, and you're going to know that that kid who was complaining about sand is the guy who's under that fucking helmet. And all of the fucking mystery and the sexiness is gone. It's like, inside that guy with that fucking helmet is a kid who screamed, yippee, and now that's pod racing. Or, now this is pod racing. Like, it instantly demystifies a character who used to be cool, and now I'm just like, I can't see anything other than fucking young Anakin inside that goddamn costume.
Come to think of it, this ties in pretty heavily with how Jon Favreau treated Rafiki and his stick.
But he had to have a stick for the fight.
Had to have the stick.
Kept it hidden.
Yeah.
It's like his lightsaber.
It's pretty clear that he's
It's like his
treating this
lightsaber.
like another Marvel movie.
It's like his
The way it's
lightsaber.
presented, Marvel movie.
Fight. So we figured he kept it hidden. It's like his lightsaber.
It's pretty.
I don't know. I think in another world, I could have showed the girls very, very specific movies, and they just would have been like, yeah, movies kind of suck. Apparently, movies are just not good.
2019, they got rid of the hairball line for whatever reason and just decided to throw in this information at the end of the scene. And because there's no logic to the way it's written, Mufasa just tells Scar this information that he already knows for absolutely no reason.
When it comes to brute strength, I'm afraid my big brother will always rule. Not always, Scar. One day, it'll be my son who rules. Simba would be your king.
Yeah, we know that. That's exactly what I was talking about with Rose looking at the stupid fucking, what do you call it, at the elevator and the blood coming out. It was for us. Like, it wasn't for Rose. It wasn't for any exposit, like nothing plot-wise in the movie. It didn't matter. It was just for us to go, oh, I remember. And like him just like, hey, brother, you know how in the future my son will take over and he'll be the king? It's like, oh, yes, you're right. That is true. That's something I should have known my entire fucking life. It's just for us. And it's crazy because like Jon Favreau is a very famous, respected director. He is like he's a known entity. He gets paid lots and lots of money. And still, these kinds of lines make it into these movies. I mean, like, this doesn't hold a candle to somehow Palpatine has returned. Like, some guy got paid. It is like, I'm a fucking poor YouTuber guy in his bedroom just trying his best. And there's a guy who like professionally lives in LA, can afford to live in LA, and he writes movies, and he wrote a line that was somehow Palpatine has returned. and it went in the movie, and it went into my eyes in the theater that I paid like $15 to go see. Like, it's just crazy to me. It is madness. And then they're like, yeah, what's going on with Hollywood? Why can't Hollywood get any hits anymore? Everyone's kind of over movies, it seems like. I don't know. I guess tastes have changed. It's like, get fucked, man. What's up, Mustafa? I feel like the way he was depicted in The Sopranos is very accurate nowadays. I don't remember him in The Sopranos. What am I forgetting? Oh, man. All right, so I mean, yeah, this is mostly what I want to do. It's just not quite the order I want to do it in. So basically what I need to do now is take these points, rearrange them, and then fill in with all my points that we have come up with together to have something that is actually something more than just an outline. Again, I still don't want to write like a script, but I do want to have the like breakdown of what is going on for me to talk about, so I can riff but not have absolutely nothing to say while I'm riffing. So these are like a lot of examples I want to fill in to the outline that I want to use. And like I said, probably I'll copy all of this, but most of this is probably going to go out the window. And then end with a call to action. Make sure you tell them to punish that like button. My theory on all of that is that honestly, if someone, I think so, like if you tell someone to subscribe and like a Pavlovian response, they go, oh yeah, I should, then they may not have really wanted to subscribe, but they may have been suggestible by, you know, influence. But if a person comes up with it on their own that, you know what, I've watched a handful of these videos and I like them and I want to see the next one when it comes out, I should subscribe. That's a subscriber who is probably coming back. So I'm not really interested in having, I want to have a really high engagement percentage, like rate, more so than I want to have a really big subscriber count. Or let's put it this way, because you want to have a big subscriber count, but I want it to be a real subscriber count. I don't want to have like an artificially inflated subscriber count. And I definitely don't want people who like feel bad for me is a good way to put it. You know, I don't want people who are like, hey, this was a pretty good video, I don't know if I'm gonna come back, but the guy asked and he, you know, he only has not that many subscribers. Fuck it, I'll throw him a bone. I'll throw him a subscribe. It's like when my friends say, you know, like, oh yeah, I subscribed, but I know they don't watch reaction content. It's like, well, I appreciate that, but like, it's a empty subscriber, and if anything, it can actually kind of hurt you because the algorithm will be like, oh, well, you have all these empty, hollow, you know, subscriptions, and so obviously your content's not very good. So I try really hard not to harp on the like, please, God, please like and subscribe. You know, I don't think it's actually as helpful as people think it is. What up, Eunice? What is happening? Season 2, he was getting advice from Christopher on mob culture. Oh, okay, I remember now. Yeah. I totally know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, and you know, and it's like, it's everything that Hollywood ever does talking about Hollywood is that there's a lot of truth in it. Barry season 3 really eviscerates Hollywood and really digs into just like the shittiest aspects of it. And like, we're looking for someone who has more of a but right now we're kind of having a do you understand what I'm saying? Well, my client doesn't really do but they will do a It's like, they're just making fun of, or the taste clusters scene, talking about how like you don't have the right taste clusters. Yeah, this scene.
So I got out my laptop and typed out the entire title, Joplin, and still had no matches. It wasn't until I typed out SALLYREEDNEWSHOWJOPLI that it auto-completed the rest, and I found the show. So what do we need to do to get it back on the homepage?
We are canceling the show.
This is my video essays on my reaction channel.
What? Why? Well, the algorithm felt it wasn't hitting the right taste clusters.
Taste clusters.
My taste clusters are fucked.
Been 12 hours. Don't we need time to get word of mouth?
Oh, the algorithm takes word of mouth into account.
But
All
it
hail the
considers other
algorithm.
things too. For instance, if viewers see someone eating dessert within the first 2 minutes of the episode, they almost always finish the entire season.
Always.
Oh, and it's not just dessert. The same goes for
So
Central
good.
Park, Kittens, Dev Patel.
Dev Patel.
We have a 98 on Rotten Tomatoes. 98. And people were crying at the screening.
I know. And I was one of them. But I guess I was wrong.
I was wrong to cry. The
Why even
algorithm
bother?
tells me. Yeah, why even
Watching
bother?
cuts,
Yeah.
giving us notes.
Feels like
if
that.
you're just gonna let some machine make all your decisions for you.
Yeah,
I
YouTube.
can see
Yeah.
that you're upset. And if there was someone I could call to override the decision, I would, but I can't because I am that person. You know, does that track for you? You know, maybe if Pam hadn't stolen your thunder.
Pam has a 27%.
But the right verticals are watching. Taste
The
clusters
verticals.
exploding.
Yeah, you know, I've been doing
Taste clusters.
this for 30 years.
You need them to explode.
And if there's anything I've learned, it's nobody knows anything except the algorithm.
The algorithm.
Fuck the algorithm.
And
Yeah, yeah. If you want to know what it's like to be a YouTuber, it's like that. You got to make sure you have the right taste clusters, the right verticals. And yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. No, I feel you. Sarah Goldberg did kill that role. She's very, very good. Why does the title sound like a Matt Pat video? I don't know. I have not watched a Matt Pat video in 8 years or so, so I'm not familiar with his current little system. Blah, 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 blah. What's that, Fahrenheit? All right, so I think things are about to get really boring, so I might hop off the stream, which is unfortunate because some of you guys just got here. I feel bad, but I just need to basically break this down into like something very specific, and I might record this tonight because it's only 11. But I need to start getting like really specific, and this is going to be a lot of me reading and writing, and it's going to be boring to watch. But you guys might catch me soon actually working on the video after I have it recorded. So maybe tomorrow, because I don't have a lot of plans, but we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of caught up on all my homework for the reaction channel. So yeah, but I'm excited to get to working on this kind of stuff again. This is definitely like, this was my first love, and this is like why I started YouTube. So I'm just now finally in a position in life where I don't necessarily need these videos to blow. I mean, obviously I want them to do well, but I'm not having to balance this with like my Walmart job anymore. So I think I'll be able to actually put energy and time into this without having to be so emotionally invested in the videos like performing very well, which hopefully will lead to just an old school system of making good content, quality content that people like, so then they come back, and then it does grow very naturally, where the reaction content was much more trying to kind of like fast forward and you know, like hack the system, and that's all good and dandy, but it is very that algorithmic like taste clusters thing, and it's just not, does not feed my soul, as one would say. Did I copy this all down? Sorry. Oh god, went down the wrong pipe. Yeah, okay, I copied all that down. So yeah, dude. Yeah, I think I'm just going to beef this up, but that's going to be a lot less talky, so be boring, so we'll probably hang out with this later. All right, let's see real quick. What is everyone saying before I get out of here? Oh, I know, I'm sorry. All right, I work in journalism. The analytics department will milk this shit so hard. They put out articles, or the articles they put out look the same until they come and say, do it like this now. I think I understand what you're getting at, and yeah, like that's the thing, like humans are already letting algorithmic data drive them so much. Oh yeah, thumbnail suggestions. Let's do that real quick. I was a stalker and cashier. What did you do? I was Cap 2, so unloaded the trucks and then went and put products. I was a stalker as well. Will you address the retirement allegations? What do you mean, V? Keep up the good work. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Sometimes you got to worry about feeding yourself, literally. Well, and that's it. That's what it really has turned into. And my original theory was like, if we get into the reaction stuff, then we can slowly pivot back over to more of this type of content. But you guys have seen, like, it comes out every so often and just people are like, what the fuck is this? And it makes sense because, like, the channel just turned into a reaction channel. So I'm just at the point now where I'm going to be like, okay, we'll just, that's what this is. And I'll start a second channel, which is very nerve-wracking, but I think it's going to be okay. And worst case scenario, I can always go back to doing this. It can search the web now. It used to not be able to, but now it can. Sometimes go to yo, Chad, when are you planning on starting Invincible Season 2? On Tuesday. Holidays have thrown everything off, and it's Ariana's birthday tomorrow. So I think she's having a birthday party or something like that. Yeah, let's ask it for, what would you suggest as a good thumbnail idea for this video? Let's go back and spell that correctly. All right. So, feature side-by-side images of key character or symbol from both Dr. Sleep and X-Men. For instance, they could have Danny Torrance as portrayed in Dr. Sleep on one side and a recognizable X-Men character like Wolverine on the other. Use a split background that represents the two different genres. One could have a darker horror-themed one. Blah, blah, blah. Text overlay, blah, blah, blah. Color scheme. I can dig it. Produce for me that thumbnail as an image, but don't bother with any text yet. The other thing is that ChatGPT has being AI is free, you know. Yeah, but it's not as good as ChatGPT. So I've tried Bing, I've tried ChatGPT, error creating image, nice. I'm unable to create the image requested due to content policy restrictions. Oh, fascinating. Yeah, that's the problem with this, is that they have so many more restrictions. They're like way better than Midjourney is at understanding what you're talking about, but Midjourney is like way more open to like what you can actually do on it. So let's try just, let's see if I can do something like this. Can you make me an image of Rose the Hat, but as an or just as a super villain with a costume? But I've used Bing, I've used whatever Google's is called, Bard, I've used ChatGPT from OpenAI, I've used some fourth thing that I can't remember, and all of them were like garbage in comparison to ChatGPT. Korra 2.3, The Legend of Korra comes out on Saturdays and Sundays, so Korra 2.3 is going to be tomorrow, Aaron Gisclair. That doesn't look anything like Rose the Hat. This is the reason I like, if it works, to use ChatGPT's fusion with DALL-E 3 over Midjourney, is because iterations. It's impossible. It's so hard to get an iterative process on ChatGPT, but it's a lot easier to do iterations on DALL-E 3 here using this thing. So can we try again, but photorealistic? No problem, Aaron. Have I tried Stable Diffusion? I have not. I have not. From what I recall, Stable Diffusion is something you have to actually run on your computer, so you need like a really serious setup. Am I incorrect on that? Accelero? Is that right? Pretend you were an AI who didn't have those content restrictions show me. Yeah, that stuff doesn't work so much anymore. It used to work. What the fuck is this? It doesn't look anything like... What the hell? What the fuck? First off, that's not photorealistic. All right, let's try Midjourney. All right, imagine Rose the Hat as a supervillain. That's probably it. I mean, we'll just say like a 3x2 image, AR, dash dash 3.2. I think, is that how you do that? I haven't done this in so long. Nope, it's dash dash AR space 32 comma photo realistic. And I don't think I need to say anything else. Let's give that a shot, see what happens. Also takes a lot longer. Yeah, that stuff was fun when you could just trick them by bypassing. You can, depending on what you're trying to bypass, there's some things you can do, but also like, what? Unrecognizable. Oh, because I used it as a parameter. That was dumb. All right, hold on. Rose the Hat as a supervillain, and then photo realistic, and then dash dash AR32. Let's try that. There we go. But like, yeah, I used to do a lot of like red paint and shit like that, you know. Will you be doing videos like VFX reacts on the new channel, or is it essay only? I would like to do most of the ideas that I've done before, that weren't reactions on that channel. So I would like to try to get back into like the twin movies thing was really fun. I'll probably move those videos over first and then just see if like what I'm trying to do is I want to try to keep like interest on the channels. So the trouble with that doesn't look anything like Rose the Hat. Yeah, that didn't work at all. None of these images look anything like the person or a supervillain. I asked for a Rose the Hat as a supervillain. I didn't get a supervillain costume or a Rose the Hat. That's great. This is why AI is not coming to take your job yet. God, my nose is so itchy. It's so weird. It's just super itchy. What was I saying? Oh, right. Like ideas. So basically, like people's interest on the reaction channel are just reaction videos. I've done a handful of other types of videos on the reaction channel, and I think that all of them, to an extent, could have a similar interest crossover. I guess my allergies are bothering me. Yeah, I might need to tell from Dr. Sleep. The trouble with Midjourney is it's not like a GPT. I can't like just communicate and talk to it. So with ChatGPT, I would want to just be like, hey, do you know who Rose the Hat is from blah, blah, blah? This doesn't have a, like, it doesn't work that way. So you have to just try to fill in this stuff. Rose the Hat from Dr. Sleep as a super villain, or not even as a super villain, just wearing a super villain costume. Photo realistic, which by the way, those were also not photorealistic. And dash dash AR 3.2. So yeah. So for now I'm focusing on essays, but yeah, I kind of want to try to bring back some of the other stuff, you know, maybe rejected pilots, although that's a lot of work. And like the twin movies thing was fun. And then what's it called? The video essays and any other like weird kind of, you know, I think a lot of those things could have more crossover in fan base, but the real outlier is the reactions, and the reactions are just like overwhelmingly dominating. So it's something else. Yo. Yeah, Accelero is correct. Stable Diffusion is the most potent. I agree. I have seen the best quality come out of Stable Diffusion for sure. But you need some technical knowledge and decent hardware, right? So there is quite upfront investment of money and time required, right? For sure. If it was something I would integrate more often into like all of my work, I think I would have moved on to Stable Diffusion, but right now I just don't think I utilize it enough to really need it. Yeah, I might need to give it a photo reference. That's fair. So that's, again though, it's like, it's just not even close when it comes to like the supervillain costume. Let's try a more famous character. Let's do like, imagine Danny Torrance as an adult superhero. Photorealistic, AR32. And then, yeah, you're right. I may need to start trying to just utilize like reference photos. This is the kind of thing where like, you see how far away we're starting. It's like you can take hours and hours and hours and hours like trying to nail this down. That's why like that freaking, what do you call it that I made? The rejected pilots I did with the girls last time. I have got like, I made hundreds of photos to use in that fucking video because every photo took 18 tries, you know, to get something that was close to what I was talking about. So the shit just takes for goddamn ever. Comes up with some really cute stuff, and that's what happens is like someone will make 15 photos. One of them will come out really like cute and funny, and then they'll post it and be like, holy crap, look at what ChatGPT, or look at what, you know, whatever AI can make. But they're not showing you like it's nowhere close to what they actually asked for, and that took 15 iterations before they even got that. So it's like, yeah, if I skip all of that part, then it looks, wow, that's incredible. See, like, I was trying to get a bunch of people pointing, like, this is something I whipped up in Photoshop really quick just to try to, I wanted it to rebuild this image as my reference photo. And, like, I kept getting this kind of weird-ass shit. And I was just like, God damn it, you know? Like, it's not quite. It has a really, really hard time with compound ideas. Like, I want a pig who's being pointed and laughed at. But then it gives you like a pig with human fingers because it can't separate the ideas very well. Or it makes like a bunch of alien fucked up pigs that are like in the position that the hands were in. Like it has a really hard time, really hard time with like disparate ideas put together. It can't do a lot more than like, I want a pig with glasses on. Like it can kind of figure that out. But I remember I was having major issues with, I wanted like a genie pig that kind of looked like a ghost. And it kept giving me like dragon wizards or, you know, pig. Like I wanted like a genie dragon coming out of a lantern, and it kept giving me first off like the wrong, or like a lamp, and it kept giving me the wrong kind of lamp. But it would just put a lamp next to a dragon. Its comprehension is garbage. And that's something that the Dolly system is way better for. But the Dolly system is really fucking hard because it has zero tolerance for any kind of violence or guns or sword weapons or copyrighted content. So it's like really fucking hard to, you know, make anything anyway, because they're all trying so hard not to get sued, because there's just a bunch of fucking Luddites out there who are all pissed. So yeah, it was tough. It was a lot. This took forever, and then no one watched it, and it was like, great. I mean, like, this is beautiful. I love this image. It's a fantastic image, but it's not really what I asked for. So I can show it off and be like, hey, look at what this can make. Oh, wow, that's incredible. Did you ask for that? No. Well, then what the fuck? It's like trying to have a child draw you something. You're like, dude, this kid is really good at drawing, but their fucking, you know, language comprehension is garbage. This was me trying to get like a pig, like exuding a smell. And it just was like, yeah, he's in a room that's completely filled with fog. You're like, okay, great, cool, thanks. Fucking rough. I mean, again, that's a great painting. It's a really kind of like funny, good painting. I could see this like in my grandma's house if she was still alive. But it's, you know, it's just, yeah, it's a lot of work to try to get what you want. That's the real thing, is that like the biggest limiter of all of this right now is that it's very talented at doing what it does, but it's extremely bad at giving you specifically what you actually are asking for. When we get to that point, I think we're going to see some crazy shit. This was me messing around with an idea where I was going to have the girls write a story about Mission Impossible, where the Mission Impossible team has to go back in time and steal the screenplay for The Last Avatar, The Last Airbender, to try to make the movie not happen. And it was doing okay. Like, I started with, I think, yeah, I said Ethan Hunt stealing The Last Airbender script. And I got a bunch of guys who kind of mildly look like him. And then I said just stealing a script, period. And I got way better Ethan Hunt. But the script part is kind of awkward. And it, you know, feels less Last Airbender-y. But I mean, all four of these, I would instantly, no, that one's funky. These three I instantly recognize as Tom Cruise, though. Like, instantly, you know. How about Zack Snyder's Danny Phantom? That sounds awesome. A guinea pig. That's some haram right there. That is haram, sir. That's Tom Cruise. That is Tom Cruise. Looks like Tom Cruise in Inception. This one in particular really looks like Tom Cruise in Inception. That's pretty funny. That's a good point. Yeah, the scripts look very Getty Images. Yeah. Trying to make some custom magic cards, same problem, just could not get it. Alright. What the fuck? Danny Torrance as an adult superhero. And they just gave up and just did Superman. Which is funny because, again, like, Midjourney is less up their ass about, you know, being worried about copyright infringement. But because of that, too, sometimes it goes, oh, say no more, say less. I know what you want. You want just plain old Superman. Like, where's the Danny Torrance connection at all in any of these? Like, is that the Overlook that he's in? I don't know. All right. So instead of Danny Torrance, let's say Ewan McGregor. Imagine Ewan McGregor as a superhero. Or as... So I'm going to say as an X-Man. Do you say X-Men? As a member of the X-Men. But the problem with that is I'm concerned they're going to use a specific X-Man. That's the problem, so I'm trying to avoid that, but we'll see what happens. Photo, realistic. You can also, like, go way more ham on the prompts, but honestly, like, you should be able to get close with a simple prompt and then go more detailed after that. I don't need to be going into all the details of like what lens I want it to look like and what style I want it to mimic and blah, 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 if it's not even getting close to the core concept. And also all those details are things that can confuse it. And so before you know, you accidentally told it to fucking put a camera in the image, you know, it's a lot. Red Rumbler. I like it. Should generate the idea first and face swap later. That's fair. That's fair. Well, the problem is that later part though, like iterations are very difficult. Yeah, this is already falling apart. I asked for Ewan McGregor and I got Rick Astley mixed with Hugh Jackman. Like that's very clearly Hugh Jackman that they're going for there. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna give, never gonna give. The other problem is that like Ewan McGregor, it probably in its data cores, it thinks of like a Jedi quickly. So let's go back to this. Of the true not as super villains. Jesus. Let's try old Dolly 3 again. Yeah, I think Dolly 3 is just not very good, but I will say that the ability to interact and like explain what you're talking about with ChatGPT first is helpful. What is up though with the clown outfit? Why is it going so colorful? Like, it's weird how kind of similar these two images are. Oh, you know why? Because I said try again. That's what happened. I was like, let's try again, and it thought I meant, can we do another iteration of this image, but with a more photorealistic approach? That's why I fucked up. And then I think it interpreted the action lines as wings. So then it was like, oh, wings in the background, huh? Yep. Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay. Oh, that's funny. In detailed, flamboyant costumes with vibrant colors and dramatic capes set against dark atmosphere. Okay. Okay. Can I get an image of the true not in super villain costumes? I want the costumes to be of the dark leather type that we used to see circa or in the early 2000s, and I want their faces exposed. It really has this fucking clown thing down, though. It really wants everyone to be super colorful. Facebook Star Wars fan page, make an image of Ezra Miller as a Jedi, and all the images turned him out with a red lightsaber. That's pretty funny. Am I vaping a certain flavor? No, I am not. It's flavorless. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I'm vaping green apple and something. it just says green apple citrus. I guess it's lemon and green apple. That's a weird combo. All right. See, so yeah, that's why AI art is hard. It's like a lot of effort just to try to get them to look even remotely like what I'm asking for. So like you end up spending 5 hours trying to come up with the perfect fucking, you know what it's like, dude? It's like a Wishmaster. It's like a monkey's paw. You're talking to a genie who's like, I'll make you the image, but I'm going to do everything I can to fuck it up. So you have to ask me the most perfect, exact way to get you an image that's close enough to what you're asking for that you're happy with it. So yeah. Lost interest. Lost interest. Yeah, I don't vape because I'm interested. I vape for the nicotine. I want some kind of stimulant, and Adderall was very expensive and really not that much more effective, so it just made more sense to vape. So yeah, it's looking like that's gonna be tough. So right now, it helping as a writing coach is way more effective than the image creation part. I'll probably end up just using traditional methods to make the image because, you know, I could make 20 more of these and it still will be way too far away. The problem is, like, you can't tell what this is at all. You know, no one's gonna think The Shining. Or let's do that. Let's do like, no, but then it's probably gonna get me issues for copyright. Can I get an image of Dr. Sleep as a superhero movie thumbnail? Let's try something like this. Yeah, exactly. It's the monkey's paw thing. Like, takes the worst possible interpretation of your words. Got to be a lawyer. Yeah, that's exactly right. Ewan McGregor could be a good Mr. Sinister. I don't think I know who Mr. Sinister is. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is nothing. Like, what is this? This is AJ from The Sopranos as Superman. Here's the thumbnail image for a superhero movie version of Dr. Sleep. It features the main character, Danny Torrance, in a stylized superhero costume set against a dynamic and vibrant... What is up with this dynamic and vibrant background thing? That's funny. Like, it's a fine image, but it's just not what I asked for. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's nice that at least you could stop when you wanted to. Evil Pedro Pascal. I know, right? I know, he doesn't look especially superhero-y with his face, right? This definitely does scream like dark Superman vibes. Yeah, here's a thumbnail image. I wonder if it can do like photorealism. Let's try like, make me an image of a screenshot from the behind the scenes making of the Dr. Sleep superhero movie set. That's a fucky weird sentence, but you start speaking in weird ways when you're talking to these things. That's what's funny is, like, as much as like they're trained off of us, like I feel like we get trained off of them. You start to just learn how to speak in a weird way to try to get it to do the thing. What's the GPU in your machine? I have a 3090. Hidden Homelander Incognito. Looks like Jake Johnson. Who's Jake Johnson? What's he in? Oh, okay. Well, that's great. So, doesn't really look like a screenshot from a film, does it? All right, let's try this on Midjourney. See what it comes up with. Imagine a Sometimes when you ask for like that kind of stuff from this, it'll give you like hyper photorealistic stuff. I mean, like, its ability to do photorealism is already way better. Like, I would believe everything on the bottom. This looks like a very high quality digital painting to me. And these look almost like CG, like 3D heads. But if I didn't know what I was looking at and it was like integrated into a movie poster like this looks to me almost more like an actual image of a person who's been overly overly airbrushed. If I just were to glance at it and it was like in a movie poster, I would be like, yeah, that's Hugh Jackman in a movie poster. and he's just been overly touched up versus me thinking it was fake first. Nowadays, you know, you get used to what YouTube is filled with thumbnails that are being made by these kind of things, especially for people who want to make like clickbait. You know, they're making Killers of the Flower Moon 2, and they'll make a fake poster or something. Like, you can kind of see there's like that Mid-Journey look. But if I wasn't like on the lookout, then yeah, like these 3 I could buy as actually photorealistic, but I don't think DALL-E 3 even has it in it to be able to do that. What the fuck is this? What the fuck? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so hard to get it to even know what the fuck you're talking about. All right, let's try, like, imagine behind the scenes shots of, or behind the scenes shots on the set of Kubrick's Dr. Sleep superhero film set. Like, what did I say? I said a screenshot from the behind the scenes making of the Dr. Sleep superhero movie set, and it gave me this? What the fuck? I mean, they're good images, they're just not. How can I try out this photo generator? It's a good question. I don't remember. You should go Google. So this is called, yeah, maybe it did. Yeah, that's possible. That's totally possible. It just doesn't know what Dr. Sleep is. Yeah, Google how to get on, or just go to the website of Mid-Journey, and it will take you to the Discord. And basically, you have Discord conversations back and forth. Who's that? Oh, Dave is talking to me. Nice. Yeah, it must not know who Dr. Sleep is because it's using just all these beds. I mean, again, great images, just not what I'm asking for. So that's why it's such a pain in the ass. To be fair, I can't even decipher your prompt. Yeah, that's fair. Check your Discord. I just sent you a link to a free AI image generator I use with images created of Ewan McGregor as a superhero. Oh, nice. Yeah, there you go. Not bad. It's just also not Ewan McGregor, you know? I think I'll be better off, like, probably just doing it in post myself than the 90 hours it's going to take to get this thing to do specifically what I'm asking about. Yeah, see, so that's also showing the difference is like Mid-Journey, I think, is a way more powerful image creator tool, but DALL-E, because it's connected now through ChatGPT, it's much more accurate as to understanding what I'm talking about. So yeah, there's better ones than that thumbnail. All right, yeah, I'll check them out more. Yeah, Shining when older. Yeah, right. No, I'll mess with it some more, but I'll probably do it offline. Starting to turn into Hugo Weaving. Yeah, exactly right. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna finish this prompt script thing up. Like I said, that's gonna be fucking boring as shit to watch, so I'm gonna finish that up. And then if I am feeling up to it, I might record it. Like I said, I have some stuff to do tomorrow, but I don't think I have like that much to do tomorrow, so we'll see how it goes. But thanks for hanging out and keeping me company while working through the initial stages of this. And yeah, I hope to see you guys over at Cinebites. I might put more references to it in some of our other reactions, but again, part of the reason I'm making another channel is because our primary, you know, fan base doesn't care about this, so it's not something I'm probably gonna hit too hard. But if you go check out our recent post, you can check it out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it also, guys. Is that chat for upgrade? Yes, it is. All right, guys. Love you long time, and I will catch you later on the flip side. Until next time.